Hello, my name is Alan, and tonight, in my time at least, I am running a session of Against the Dark Conspiracy. This is my own game of supernatural thriller. The mechanics owe a lot to Cthulhu Dark, and the setting, particularly in this version, we are going to confront the vampire conspiracy. It owes a lot in terms of setting to Night's Black Agents by Ken Hite. My thanks to both those people for tremendous games. This game is one of the many that are organized through the Gauntlet RPG community, online, sometimes we call it an online gaming club. But particularly this weekend, we are running a weekend of one-shots for the most part as part of the Gauntlet Community Open Gaming initiative. This is an effort on our part to encourage people to play online, to encourage them to come and try playing with us, because we think our table culture is worth coming to visit and maybe staying. I've been with the Gauntlet now about 3 years, I guess, and I have never had so much fun online. So with that aside, let me just skim through what we're about. So the concept of this game is that the players are going to take the roles of what in the game are called operators. These are burned spies, busted criminals. These may not be very nice people. They have spent a previous career doing dangerous and dubious things for either their country or for some criminal enterprise, and have ended up in that kind of shadowy half world between espionage and crime. In our case tonight, in Europe, they think that there are vampires behind some of the shadowy goings on that they have encountered in their professional lives. Of course, their organizations were not keen to hear that. Whether that's because they think that these operators have just cracked and lost it, or whether it's because they have been infiltrated by that conspiracy, who knows? But the fact is that these operators are now making a living as best they can as freelancers, but also true believers. They are members of an informal network who, conspiracy theorists, some of us would call them, who believe that there are vampires, and they believe that vampires are pulling the strings on a lot of what is wrong with the world. How far that is true, we'll discover in play. Now, the game as written is a no prep. So if we had longer to play, then we would create a lot of the operations that we're going to get involved in together as we went. I've opted for a kind of half prepared, half improved tonight, because it's a one shot. We've got 4 hours together. And so there will be opportunities for the players to influence the kind of creatures that they are going to encounter, or at least the powers and weaknesses of the creatures they might encounter, and also to influence the kind of obstacles they're going to face in the operations. I'm hoping that we will get through 2. I'm not certain we'll manage 3 operations in one evening, even though we're going to make a fairly swift in media res start. But I do need to stress that these characters may not be very nice people, but the one thing that is true is that they trust one another, because there are very few people in their lives, because of the nature of the lives they've led, who care about them and that they have ties to. And we'll touch on some of the others that they might have links to shortly. In terms of a tone, well, you know, this is, if this was in the cinemas, this would certainly be a kind of 18+ certificate. You know, the contents warnings on this are quite large. So forgive me if I go. So we're going to have vampires and their lore, no brainer. But there may well be tensions between the operators. Those tensions may turn to intimacy or to verbal or even physical abuse. There may well be drug and alcohol abuse as a way to vent stress. That kind of anger may spill over into relations with non-player characters. And indeed, there may be some intimacy between player characters and non-player characters. All of those things are on the table. So the tone is dark. I tend to think of this as Jason Bourne Vampire Hunter. So Le Carré, I think, is a little bit too mirrors within mirrors to be reflected in these rules. Jason Bourne, I think, is a good place to start, edging perhaps towards Mission Impossible, because I do know that we have a player character who has significant technical expertise, so we might see some gadgets conjured forth when the time comes. So there might be a bit of Mission Impossible. Probably not Bond gadgets. I think that's a little bit too far off the edge of this genre. So we got thriller, we got spies and criminals, and we got vampires. That's the pitch. Now, given the nature of some of this content, we are going to be playing with some safety tools. If you come and play with a gauntlet, safety tools are inherently part of the deal. We're going to be playing with lines and veils. And lines are things that won't come up in the fiction. Veils are things that may come up, but we will draw a discreet curtain. Because I'm old and British, consensual sex will be veiled. Yeah. And we'll just talk through lines and veils before we start properly. We're also playing with an open door. So, you know, if something gets a little bit tense, or if the doorbell goes, nothing is chaining you to this desk, right? Nothing is chaining you to this game. The open door is there, so if this turns out not to be the game that you hoped it would be, for goodness sake, don't feel obliged to stay. You know, if you are called away, or if you need to leave, then, you know, if you can tell us that you're on your way back, fine, and we'll play on and reintegrate the character when you get back. But the open door is there for whatever reason. Oh, and let me just say, then hopefully lines and veils will limit the times we need to use the next tool, which is the X card. The X card there is to just say, hang on. It is quite possible I have drifted too close to a line, and you just want to make sure where I'm going. I may do the same to you if I think you're drifting towards a line. The best way to signal is to give me a visual, because I tend to look at people's faces when I'm playing online rather than at the chat. But if either of you spots that one of the other person has put in the chat X card, then please draw my attention to it. I won't ask you why you've played the X card. I may ask you how far back you want me to rewind in the fiction, so I can hopefully then play forward and avoid the stuff that, you know, I kind of want you to be slightly disturbed, but only in a good way. So you know, it's there for those times you think, no, this is getting a bit iffy. And the other thing I want to stress about the X card is if something comes up and you think, oh, I'm fine with that, and then it comes up again and you think, actually, no, I'm not fine with that. Just because you didn't X card it then doesn't mean you can't X card it now. So please, you know, use it. It's there to be used. Now, the other thing about the X card, I suppose, is that, you know, if my hope is that we can cover off some lines and veils, but because of the nature of this game and that content warning I gave you, we could be sailing quite close to an X card. So it could be something that comes up that seemed fine in terms of the context there, but in the moment doesn't seem fine. Please use the X card. And I've had the X card simply of the name of an NPC. I've named an NPC after someone, a friend of a player, and they were fine with that until that NPC started doing some very bad things. And that's fine. You know, that's X cardable. I can change the name of an NPC. That's not a problem. So anything at all that you're uncomfortable with, please, you know, X. I put Stars and Wishes in because if this was a multi session series, I'd be checking in with Stars and Wishes at the end of a session to see what went well and what didn't. I will try to remember about halfway through to check in, just to get some in-session Stars and Wishes, just to check that I'm sailing in the right direction in terms of us all having a fun time. And finally, we are playing with the Gauntlet Code of Conduct, which is a fabulous document. And I recommend anyone watching to search Gauntlet Community Code of Conduct. It's a great document that I would recommend you using in all your games. I've put some do's and don'ts on the bottom of the lines and veils, which is my kind of very crude summary of the Code of Conduct. I sometimes summarize it more by saying, all it means is don't be a dick. But it is about respectful play. That's the core of it. So that's all of that. I will finish by, I should have done this at the start, but we've been having a chat for about 10 minutes. So I'd forgotten. My name is Alan and my pronouns are he, him. And I am your game facilitator for the night. Let me now then ask our players to say hello and tell us a little bit about the operator they're going to be playing. So Jose, let me start with you. Say hello, tell us your preferred pronouns, and tell us a little bit about Nacho Cortez.
Great. Hi, everybody. My name is Jose, and my pronouns are he and him. And my character is Nacho Cortez, Ignacio Cortez. So he had worked initially for the Spanish CNI, their intelligence organization. So his background is in espionage. But as Alan mentioned, things went a little south with the organization when Nacho became convinced that there was a vampiric conspiracy. And so they parted ways. His specialty is he's a handler, so he was focused on managing assets and managing informants. And he's also quite a persuasive guy. So he's good at, manipulating people. And particularly since he left the organization and has gotten involved in this new kind of informal network, he has polished his skills at assassination and killing, because that's been something necessary for this new line of work that he's in, although he didn't specialize in that when he was working for CNI. And that's the brief intro to Nacho.
That's a great pitch. Thank you for that. Mari, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to Camille Deschamps.
My name is Mari. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm playing Cam Deschamps, who was previously worked for the French DGSE in their signals intelligence division. She was a hacker and has parted ways with them after becoming convinced that vampires were real, and he did not think this was compatible with working with them. And so she's turned her technical expertise to more deadly and violent means to keep alive and make ends meet during this time on her own.
I like that. And her expertise there, research. So find them, digital intrusion, hack them, technical, blow them up. It's a very attractive mode of interaction with them. Okay, let me ask you some questions now about some of your background, if you will. So each of you still has somebody outside this wild conspiracy theorist group that you have become part of, that we call in the game an anchor. This isn't someone you see regularly. Indeed, you may go out of your way to avoid making direct contact with them because the attention you might draw to them might not be a good thing. They are potentially at risk, but you still care about them. So let's begin with Ignacio, Nacho. Tell me about your anchor and just briefly who they are.
So my anchor is Jalal Hadani, who Nacho was actually engaged to at one point. And he's of Moroccan descent, but he also worked as an operative for CNI at that point. But when Nacho got involved in the whole vampiric conspiracy, I think it caused a lot of tension within the relationship. And so the marriage actually never took place, but Nacho still has a very soft spot in his heart for Jalal.
And can you tell me, is Jalal, because this is a one shot, I'm going to ask you some of the questions that normally I'd leave to emerge in play. But
sure.
Is Jalal still inside the CNI, or has he left for different reasons?
No, so Jalal is living in Barcelona, and he was also a hacker initially in his functioning for CNI, and now he's in cybersecurity for financial services in Barcelona.
So lives in Barcelona and works in the corporate sector.
Yes.
Yeah. Would you just add that to that
Oh,
little
sure.
box, just as an aid memoir, so we don't forget, while we move on to learn something about Cam Deschamps' anchor. Who is it out there in the real world that still matters to you, Cam?
All right. She has a twin sister, Elodie, who lives in Paris and works for the French government, not in espionage, but civil service.
I'm with you. Okay, so if you want to put in there, just name, relationship, where she lives, and what she does as an aid memoir, that will be really helpful. And then we may learn some more about them. And at some point, you may have some hard decisions to make about whether you want to keep them quite as safe as they appear to be right now. Because you'll notice there are some boxes along there that say target, missing, and taken. Currently, the conspiracy probably doesn't know anything about them. But at some point, they may be added to the conspiracy's target list. Who knows? Let me now then go to my next question. If I'm moving too quickly, stop me, right? Because I'm conscious. Normally, I'd have 4 people to work across, so it might take me a long time to come around to you. So I'm going to come back to you quite quickly. So the next bit of this is to give me some idea of why you decided to confront the conspiracy. And if you hit the drop down on row 24, you'll see a range of broad descriptions of one word often descriptions of why, and then a bit of clarification will appear in the cell underneath. So I'm curious, Nacho, what are you thinking about why you actually decided to push it? Because in that meeting with your superior inside the Spanish intelligence service, when they said, you're just having a joke, aren't you? You could have said, oh yeah. When you saw the look on their face, you could have just backed off, but you didn't. So I'd like to explore why you didn't just back off, Nacho.
Mm-hmm. So Nacho had his suspicions about the vampiric conspiracy that were growing over a few years. But the incident that really put him over the edge was when his younger sister, may I say this, was suddenly disappeared. She was on a yacht, a party off the coast of Mallorca, and she never appeared afterwards, and she was presumed drowned. And Nacho is convinced that the vampiric conspiracy took her out because he was getting too close. And his superiors at CNI would hear nothing of it and thought it was just, grief speaking. And but when Nacho didn't get over it, they terminated him.
So I'm assuming then loss. They took someone that mattered from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you'll see that's filled a question there. Who was it? We know who it was. What were the circumstances? We know what they were. If you haven't seen their body, or perhaps even you have, what would you do? Sorry, I need to just make that cell a bit bigger to get them back. So I'm going to let you contemplate for that one for a moment.
Okay.
About just what you might give up, while I go to Cam and ask Cam, why did you choose to confront the conspiracy?
I'm gonna go with curiosity, that she started seeing things in the info she was gathering that didn't add up, that seemed like that non-human actors were involved, whether they were impossibly old or behaving in ways that drinking blood or other non-human behaviors.
Yeah, that
And
tracking of
just-
some suspect that bears a striking resemblance to someone who's in that Rembrandt painting.
Exactly.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
And that she just couldn't pretend that it was nothing like her superiors insisted.
So curiosity, you are fascinated by the allure of the blasphemous unknown. So we got a sense of what you've seen that fuels your fascination with the conspiracy. My question to you will be, what would you give up to know more about them? And very crudely, folks, this is what could I tempt you with? Or put it this way, if I tempted you with it and you walked away, how might I do you harm? So what are we thinking for Nacho then? What would you do to get your sister back, Nacho?
I think he will kill whoever he needs to get her back.
Okay, so just any moral compunction, anyone,
Yeah.
anyone.
Oh, maybe that's too broad.
I understand, Nacho. I understand. That's why Nacho has invested some time in the dark arts of assassination, perhaps.
Sounds good.
Because whoever is standing between him and his sister shouldn't stand there too long. Okay, I go with that. Okay, then. So what about Cam? What would Cam give up to know more about the conspiracy and the people or things at the center of it? That is always the tough question.
Yeah. I don't think she'd go as far as Nacho and kill anybody. She'd be more willing to betray people to the conspiracy to find out rather than personally killing
Oh.
them.
That's good to know, Nacho. So you would give up colleagues?
Yes, colleagues,
Friends? Yeah?
not necessarily family.
Okay, you draw. That's what I'm trying to work out is where is the line, Cam? And the line is family. So it seems to me that what you would give up is anyone other than family. Yeah? And that boils down, given that your relations with parents are long gone, maybe they're long gone. The only person in your life that you would like maybe one day to have a relationship with again is Elodie. So it's basically anyone but Elodie.
Basically, yes.
Okay. I shall look forward to testing just how firm a line you have established, Cam. Okay. So those are great answers, guys. Great answers.
Should I be afraid now? I think I'm feeling afraid.
We'll kill anybody, so.
Yeah, no, Nacho's not going to be killed. Nacho will simply disappear in a black van.
Okay.
You know, in return for some very, very interesting files, Cam. I'm sure that they'll make fascinating reading. And I am now curious where the other two operators from this team are right now. So as we continue to work our way down, let me introduce you to Intel. Normally, you wouldn't have any Intel to start because it's a one shot, you have one Intel. In the same way that if you roll low, heat goes up. If you roll high, Intel goes up because you learn stuff, and it's quite what you learn, we won't know until you spend it. But suddenly something may click, and that is this abstract thing called Intel. And you can spend Intel in a number of different ways that we'll touch on as we play. So it's a useful resource. But then there are two questions. And with more than two of you, there might be some mileage in this. But right now, the two questions are, which member of the team do you care most about? And which member of the team do you care least about? And I'm going to start with Nacho. Which of those two boxes would you put Cam in? Is this someone you care more than other members of this informal network that you're all part of? Or is this someone that you care less about than other members of that informal network? Let me stress, this is narrative, right? You can be just as nasty to somebody that you claim to care about a bit, yeah, as anybody else. But it's just, I'm just curious which of those boxes you might put Cam in, given what you know about her.
Let's see, what do I know about her?
Because she's cold.
She's cold. Cold and analytic. Why don't I put her in the one I care the least about?
Okay.
I think I'll put her there.
Okay, so just put Cam as an aid memoir in there, and then let me ask the same question of Cam. You know, if this was a case of throwing somebody under the bus, would it be Nacho or somebody else?
I'm going to go with somebody else.
So you are going to put him in the team member you care most about. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And again, because this is a one shot, normally why you feel that way would be revealed in play. But I want to get the ball rolling because we're not going to have time to do an awful lot of that reveal in a single session. So let me go back to Nacho to begin with. So you know each other. You have known each other for years, one way or another. Yeah. Through your professional life, because this is that kind of movie, your lives have intersected across your professional lives. So tell me, what's your first recollection of Cam, Nacho?
I guess it must have been, I would think it must have been on a mission where it was a joint mission between the French and the Spaniards, and we were, let's see. Yeah, and she was providing an intel briefing on a particular target that we had, that we were trying to undermine his status within a criminal organization, and she was providing intel on his shady financial dealings, even within the criminal organization. So she was doing financial records kinds of things, and I was impressed by her capacity, and the intel that she gave me really helped in my mission at that point to undermine that crime boss.
Okay, well, if you want to put into that space on the character keeper, just a sentence that just reminds us what about that. Because my next question, Cam, is that the first time you noticed Nacho, or was there some other occasion when you'd noticed him, but he hadn't quite noticed you?
There was an earlier operation that the French and Spanish were working together in, let's say, Rome, where she was providing surveillance for the operation, and she saw him operating and handling some of the assets for the terrorist group they were infiltrating, and was impressed by the job he did in persuading them to divulge information.
That works for me. So again, if you would like to put something in there that gives us a little flavor of that first recollection, that would be great. Fine. We'll just have a, just take a bit of time to get that in. Because Nacho, I'm about to ask you to tell us about the first time that that Cam saved you. So contemplate that while Mari just gets something in that box about the first recollection of Nacho. See, it's already intense with just the two of you. Okay, so and I'm going to ask you the same question of Cam with respect to Nacho. In fact, let me do that one first. Let's go to Cam first and say, when did they save you? What were the circumstances around that?
It was during a much later joint operation before we had gotten burned by our organizations that the place where she was doing surveillance from got compromised, and she was unaware of this, but he managed to get intel about it and was the first person to respond to while the organized crime outfit they were targeting came to attack the surveillance room she was operating from.
Brilliant. So he got you out of a blown safe house. That's when you find out who your friends are. What about you, Nacho? When were you aware of Cam saving you?
I'm thinking that Nacho was kind of in a deep undercover assignment, maybe in Turkey, and again with a arms dealer kind of organization, so he didn't have a lot of contact with other people because it was a deep cover situation where he had to cut all communications, and so most of his communications only happened through dead drops. So he didn't have any kind of real-time kind of communication. But somehow Cam got wind that there was a double agent within that organization that was aware of Nacho by her magic hacking capacities. And she found a way to get a message to him just before, so he could hightail it out of there before they came down on him and killed him.
I'm just curious, Cam, was that official or was that just unofficial? Was that the DGSE saying there's a Spanish operation going, keep an eye, make sure that guy's okay, or was that just you?
It was unofficial. She was running a different operation and got that just info and
an intersection. Fine, brilliant. Okay, well, again, if you want to put a little bit about that just to add a bit of flesh to this relationship, feel free. And then it's actually 5 to the hour, so what I'm inclined to say is, shall we take a break now, and then when we come back, we'll come back in media res and get the ball rolling on an operation to track down something about suspected vampire Simon Throndal. Okay, I'm going to pause the recording now. Okay, we're back from that break. And just to check in, unless anyone wants to add anything, the current lines we have are on sexual assault and violence, harm to children, homophobia, racism, sexism, infection or plague is a major plot point. I'm not counting infectious vampire bites in that one, so that may be on the table. Peril to pregnant women and infants. And because we're not playing the variety of this about demons or fae, they're not on the table. And the lines currently are domestic violence, torture by PCs or NPCs, and harm to animals. The ticks I've put in the interested line column there are simply my aid memoir to say what I said earlier about some of the material that we might end up covering in a move called Seek Relief from the Horror. So I'll move lines and veils just a little bit further along from where they were. Cycle of play, you can see where it is. You can use it at your convenience. I want to start, we open on a sunny day in a valley in the mountains on the border between Southeast Germany and the Czech Republic. And we open on that. The Kielberg retreat, all the elegance of Central European 18th and 19th century building, now a celebrity spa and clinic. And the reason we open there is as we pull back, I think we will see Nacho and Cam just observing the Kielberg retreat. And then if I refer you to, there's a tab called Operation 1. The reason that they are observing the Kielberg retreat is that the dark web, the conspiracy theorists are convinced that somebody called Simon Throndal, technically Count Simon Throndal, who the social and business pages describe as a playboy and millionaire businessman. The dark web is convinced Throndal is a vampire. And Throndal was recently reported to have been injured during a bank raid in Vienna. And he just disappeared from the business pages. He disappeared from the social pages. But then, and I think it's probably Cam who will have got the tip, given that you are probably accessing corners of the dark web that Nacho doesn't even know exist. But there you've encountered another user of some forum who goes by the handle of Madame Mina. And Madame Mina says that Throndal was being treated after this bank raid when he was reportedly injured in a crossfire at this celebrity spa clinic. So that's why you were at the Kielberg retreat. One way that you might be able to work out if he is a vampire was if you could get access to his medical records. And so I've set the operational objective for this introductory mission operation as obtain Count Simon Throndal's medical records. Who or what is the focus? Well, the medical records are the focus of this operation. Where is this operation focused? On the Kielberg retreat, on the border between Germany and the Czech Republic. In terms of the opposition that so far you think you might face, you think these are going to be nameless pawns. That now, you know, for all you know, the Kielberg retreat is entirely honest and above board. So they may just be nameless members of the Kielberg retreat security team. But we know that won't matter to Nacho. So the chances are this place will have decent security simply because of the clientele, its select nature. And of course, it is possible that some of those paramilitary pawns, i.e. people armed conceivably with automatic weapons, might well be there as bodyguards for celebrity clients. So as we open, that is what you know about the Kielberg retreat. You know why you're here broadly, you know what you're looking for, and you know what you can reasonably conclude, given your experience, about who you might face in here. So let's then cut to the safe house. And for that, I just need to point you back to the operators tab, because over there, just to the right of Cam's character, you will find the safe house. Let me begin with Cam. What's the safe house in Kielberg like?
It's a dingy, like townhouse apartment place in the not great part of town. Has and so we have the room where we're running surveillance. There's another.
Let me leave it at that to begin with. We'll add a bit of detail in a moment. So I got dingy townhouse apartment in a less popular part of town.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Nacho, who's vulnerable nearby? Were the conspiracy to hit this safe house, who's going to catch the collateral?
I'm thinking that right next door to the townhouse is like a small kind of family-run convenience store run by yeah, a very nice Turkish couple.
Fine.
With 2 kids. Let's put 2 kids in who help out behind the counter.
Friendly Turkish couple and their family. Dot. Okay. Cam, which single thing reassures you most that this safe house is in fact at least as safe as you think it reasonably could be in the circumstances?
The closed circuit surveillance system that she personally set up around the place. And
so you reckon you'll see them coming?
yes.
Fine. So the question has to be asked, Nacho, why isn't the place ideal then? What's its weak spot?
I think there aren't a lot of good exits from this place. We have to exit out into the street or into the back alley, and there's no other way out of the building, and so there are some bottlenecks there. So if we were surrounded in some way, even if we got notice that they were coming, it might be hard to get out.
Okay, so only one way out at ground floor front and another at ground floor rear. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that tells you something, because this doesn't even have fire escapes that are up to specification. Yeah. Let me go back to Cam and just so it's a townhouse apartment. I think we're assuming it's not on the ground floor, but how far up is it?
2nd floor.
Oh, yes. Okay. And that's why it's in a not very popular part of town, because Kielberg, the center of Kielberg, looks like it stepped out of some kind of Black Forest fairy tale. But, you know, on the other side of the river, or maybe on the other side of the main road, maybe these are places where people who are less well off, less advantaged, make their homes. Might explain why there's a Turkish run convenience store next to your townhouse. Brilliant. Okay. Now, the other thing that I will ask you at some point is what single gear benefit the townhouse gives you. It could have a stock of heavy weapons, or there could be heavy weapons you have stocked it with. There could be automatic weapons, or there could be tech equipment and explosives. I'm not going to ask you that question now, because I've lifted the idea of equipment in this game from Forged in the Dark. So you will not define equipment until you declare it. I'll ask you in a little while how much you're carrying, but I won't ask you what you're carrying. But if you find yourself in a circumstance where you think you really do need that grenade, then you might very well tick heavy weapons, and lo and behold, you have access to a grenade. Likewise, if Cam discovers that actually a surveillance drone would be really handy at this point, then maybe that's where you tick tech equipment and explosives, and then that gear benefit is defined until you have a new safe house. Okay, so so we know. So you're in the safe house, and you're kind of just talking through what you know about, how you're going to do this, what you need to know in order to do it. And what I want to do now is to flash back to an investigative scene. And this investigative scene needn't go on in Kielberg. It can have gone on last week or a month ago when you first got this tip-off. And in that investigative scene, you are going to, you're going to frame it for me. We're going to run through it. And the culmination will be, you will roll with a move called Investigate, which basically allows you to ask me questions that will allow you to add detail to the operation. So these investigative scenes give you a chance to flesh out, more about who's there, more about the security, perhaps more about the setup of the building. Whatever you frame it, whatever fictional positioning your framing gives you, will allow you to ask a question. It's a relatively low stress introduction to the dice mechanic as well. So let me begin. I think I'm going to begin with Nacho. So it can be helpful to think about which bit of the operation you want to know more about. So, do you want to know more about the medical records and where they might be stored? Do you want to know more about the nature of the building? Do you want to know more about the potential security? And if you've got in mind the broad area you want to ask me a question about, then you can frame a scene that might allow you to ask me that question, and I will answer it honestly, because you will be creating the facts. And I suppose this inevitably plays into how you imagine the operation going down. Yeah. Is this going to be a glider at night, or is this going to be conning you way across the threshold? I don't know. All the things are on the table, but you will clearly want to be playing to your expertise.
Right.
What do you want to know about Nacho?
And what I want to know about isn't necessarily what Cam is going to want to know about, right?
No.
Okay, so she'll have her own. Okay,
indeed.
Cool.
Absolutely.
All right, so Nacho's immediate inclination is going to want to be to infiltrate the place and to find a cover that he can use to be part of it. And so he probably wants to know more about I think he wants to know something about what kind of profile he could present that would really jazz and the people who run the place and will say, oh yes, I want you to be here, whether it's a profile as an employee, as a cover, as an employee, or as a patient. I guess maybe that's the term for them.
Okay.
Or client.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how frame me a scene that would allow you to get answers to those kind of questions. Is this a meeting with someone, or is this just staking it out and getting a view?
No, I think his approach would have been to somehow, maybe with Cam's help, have identified a disgruntled employee that had been fired from the facility, and then casually befriend that person and hear listen to their story of the horrible things that happened to them, and in the process mine whatever information he could get out of her around that.
And this is a her?
I think it's a her. I think that just happened. Yes.
Okay, okay. No, that's fine. It can certainly be a her. Is this? Yeah, I think that probably. Let me just see if I can come up with because the just for anyone listening, the Story Games Names Project is worth its weight in gold. Because I should be able to pull up a range of Turkish names with any luck in a following wind. I thought I could. Okay, no, right. I'm going to go with a straightforward German. Let's say that she is called Sabine. And do you meet Sabine socially, or do you engineer some other meeting with her? Is this, maybe she lives nearby and you bump into her in the convenience store?
Sure, that sounds good.
For all I know.
Yeah.
And maybe she goes to a club. And then lo and behold, we see you and her in this club. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the noise, what, is this a subdued club, or is this loud thumping wall vibrating music?
Yeah, no, I think this is a little bit more of a subdued neighborhood kind of, well, not a neighborhood, but it's a club. So it's a club where people dance, but she's maybe she's in her 40s somewhere, and she worked as a nurse in the spa.
Okay.
And so she's there to just have a cocktail, but it's not a pounding music like 18-year-old kind of discotheque. It's a little bit more focused on an older clientele.
Okay. Okay. And Sabine is disgruntled, because that's the way you wanted this set up. And she's disgruntled because, she's very well qualified. But they have, they just find excuses to let older women go. And to some extent, older men as well. Because it's like you have to be, not just technically qualified, but you have to be a really good looker. Because that fits with everything that they pitch. Have you seen the website? The website is kind of just, there are beautiful people being served by beautiful people doing beautiful things. And, 40, okay? She probably says 35. and, thank you, we won't be renewing your contract. I mean, what kind of organization is that?
That's crazy. So I did see the website, and so who are the real people that go there then? If this website's a big farce.
Oh no, Jesus, that's the thing. It's not a farce. It really is. If you don't look right, you don't get a job there. 8 years ago when I got a job there, I fitted perfectly. I mean, look at me. I'm an attractive woman.
You certainly are.
And yet, here I am 8 years later, and suddenly they don't need my expertise anymore. Pah. What's that about?
Who's running this place, anyways?
I think we're getting into that little bit of mechanics.
Oh.
So let's have you engage with the mechanics. So
okay.
If you see the dice room, so you are going to be rolling the gray dice in the middle, and if you click on it, you will see that it will develop a kind of little halo. Yeah.
Yep.
I think your persuasion expertise is working perfectly here. So you're also going to highlight the orange dice above the gray. You with me?
1 second. Let me refresh my page. It's giving
Oh.
me a please refresh your page kind of thing. So let me just do that. And then I will be with you in 1 second. Yes. So the gray and the expertise above it.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to increase your chance of success by including a third dice called the stress dice?
Let's go ahead and roll with these two and see what happens.
Okay. The stress dice gives you an extra dice, but there is a risk that your stress might increase.
I see.
So let's have you roll those two dice then. You should see that at the bottom there's a little purple kind of re-roll. Yeah.
Here we go. Crossing my fingers.
Okay. It is the best number you roll that matters. Yeah.
Okay.
So if I now take you to the basic moves tab, where there's a move called investigate, when you want to ask a question about someone, something, or somewhere, or want control to reveal something about the situation, roll 1d6, add another one for expertise, blast stress. So you rolled 5. You get the minimum needed to proceed, and control will also answer one question. So I've given you a little bit of context for it, but the question that you ended up with there was, so who's running this then? And she can tell you the basic you need for that is Dr. Weber.
Dr. Weber.
He's not only the chief doctor, but he kind of runs the whole thing. So that's the basic. Now you get to ask me a question on top of that about that would fit with the fictional positioning you've set up.
Yeah. What do I really need to know?
I mean, I'll tell you for nothing that you fit the profile in terms of you're a good-looking fellow.
Right. So I could go in there. Yeah, what's his there's something about the because I know the image he's trying to project in the place is of, you know, beautiful people doing lovely care for their beautiful clients, maybe not so beautiful clients. So we're working on that. And then I'm trying to think what would really impress him in a resume.
You tell me what she says. What does she say?
She says he's such a snob that he loves it when people have worked for famous people in the past.
Okay. So if you can come up with a resume that includes someone famous, then you could very well be on the premises for an interview on the day concerned. Does that seem fair?
That seems fair to me.
Okay. Let's go to Cam. You get the gist of this, I think, now that narrow down what you're interested in finding out some more about, and then frame a scene that could legitimately allow you to create some facts or ask me some.
So I think she's interested in the security systems of the place, naturally, and figuring out the nature of them. And so,
well, look, I mean, that's interesting because you could say, I don't want to waste my time on an investigative scene, actually. I'd like to have a preparatory scene just before we start the operation, which would give me some fictional positioning, like I'm already in the system.
that sounds interesting.
Yeah? Is that where you're heading?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Okay, so we won't have an investigative scene. Instead, just before we kick off the op, you know, at the point when Nacho is heading inside for his interview, maybe we'll then see how successful you were at getting into their system. Does that seem fair?
Sounds good.
Okay. So the only other thing I want to put to you is one of the ways that you can spend intel is to define an obstacle you would look cool overcoming, right? Because if you have a look on the operation sheet, there's a section called obstacles and complications. Or you may want to hang on to that single intel you currently have and spend it to describe the weakness of some horrible monster you encounter later in the session. So I'll just put that on the table now. Nacho, what's your thinking? Do you want to spend it or keep it?
I'm sorry, I don't think I quite grasp the distinction. If you could repeat it one more time, maybe I get it better.
Of course. So intel is a resource that were you to start rolling some sixes,
Right.
you would begin to accumulate. You can spend intel in a number of different ways. One of the ways is to define an obstacle that I will then have to present you with. So you could spend intel and say, I know that I am going to run into someone really famous that I'm going to need to convince something. Yeah. And you would spend an intel and that would become something that's going to happen in this operation. Alternatively, you can hang on to it and spend it later on some stuff. And there's a whole range of stuff you can spend it on. If you have a look at the heat and intel tab, you'll see there that during this part of the game, the briefing, you can add details, including an obstacle. During the operation itself, you can spend intel to reduce stress when it gets too high, because you just focus on, I know a lot about this, I shouldn't get so screwed. Yeah. And then at other stages in the cycle of play, you can spend it on other things, including defining the weaknesses of supernatural creatures. Yeah.
Sounds okay. I understand it a little bit more now. It's how to spend the intel, right? Yeah. I think maybe I'll put it in my back pocket then, rather than defining it.
I think that's broadly a sensible idea at this stage of the game. Yeah. Okay. So in that case, let us move to the operation itself then, and we'll come to Cam in a moment for this kind of setting up Cam's starting position. But I'm kind of imagining that Nacho are you walking across that bridge to the main entrance, or have you got a taxi to take you there? What's the deal, Nacho?
Yeah, I imagine that it's not quite right in the center of town, and
No.
so I probably arrive in a cab, and I'm walking across the bridge to the chateau, or
Yeah, no, good description.
and and I'm Nacho's looking good, because he knows that that's going to give him a bunch of cachet coming into this. So he's got a fine suit on. He's looking good, and he's got his resume, his forged resume that says that he worked for some very famous members of the German government as a private nurse.
Okay, that's his pitch. Now, can I take you on the character sheet down to about row 32, just to tell you about load and equipment? You will notice the moment I've ticked for both of you light loaded. Light loaded means that that's you aiming to blend in. Yeah. Medium loaded would be you carrying, a significant bag or pack of some description. And heavily loaded is, military style webbing, the whole shebang. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a very heavy resume in a very big wheelie box. So you default to light loaded, but I will now check in with Nacho. Is light loaded appropriate? And why it matters is, can you see that there are 3 boxes underneath light? And then another 2 under medium, and another 1 under heavy.
Yeah.
Those are the slots you have for gear. Yeah.
I see.
And when you select a piece of gear in the drop downs below, you'll see that they have different number of boxes that they will fill up. Yeah. So when you're light loaded, you can only take items that are one box bulk. Yeah. But you can have 3 of them. If you choose to be medium loaded, you could have 1 or 2 box items, and you've got 5 spaces to fill all told. So if you were to choose a handgun right now, you would select handgun and you would fill one of those gear slots.
I see.
I'm not suggesting you do that. You don't have to do that until we discover you had one in the back of your belt. Okay?
Excellent. Yeah.
Okay. Where exactly is Cam at the point that Nacho is walking, gets out of the taxi and walks across this bridge to the entrance of the clinic, Cam? Where do we see Cam?
She's probably in a vehicle that they have nearby to run her surveillance and hacking from.
The black van.
Yes.
The inconspicuous van parked within sight of the bridge. So I'm guessing that we cut to Cam, she's there with a camera just clicking Nacho as he moves across the bridge, yeah?
Yes.
But more importantly, she now needs to work out whether the back door that she thinks she's set up into their security system actually is live and working, yeah?
Yes.
There is a move on the basic moves tab that says, do something else, which is anything that isn't covered by another move. And you are not maintaining your cover, you are not fleeing for your life, and you're not chasing them down. So you are doing something else. But clearly you have all the expertise in the world for this. Yeah. You're bouncing this signal off, a satellite dish in Rio de Janeiro, all kinds of stuff's going on. So you're rolling the gray dice, the orange dice. Would you like to include the stress dice to include your chance of success?
I'm going to go with no for now.
Okay, so click on each of those 2 dice and hit the reroll button. Oh, a 5. Okay, and you will see, do something else, 5. You succeed with no obvious complication or benefit. So you are in the system. Which bit of the security system do you want to begin controlling? So, we're talking about, is it cameras? Is it any secure doors? Is it, I don't know, the fire sprinkler system? I don't know. You tell me. What would you like to begin with control of? Or do you want to get in? Are you in the kind of database?
No, I think we'll go with the cameras for now.
Okay. A conceit of the game is that each of you has one of those little earbuds. So you're always in communication. I'm guessing that for Cam, it's a slightly more, sophisticated setup. But Nacho, you can hear Cam saying, well, what does he hear you say, Cam, when you press the button and, you get all these little camera squares popping up on your screen?
I tell him I'm in their system. I have eyes on the facility.
Okay. Now, Cam, if you want to ask me any questions about what's going on there, just tell me and we'll roll to investigate so you can ask me some questions. But let's cut to Nacho as he comes to the front gate, to the kind of reception. And the reception is like a very plush hotel. But the kind of staff all have a slightly medical cut to their uniforms. So this isn't plush red velvet. This is much more crisp white with, blue trim. And somebody looks up from the front desk and says, hello, can I help you? Clearly, wondering who is, no one turns up here on their own. Where's the entourage?
Now, have I set up an appointment with Dr. Weber or not yet?
You
I have.
have
Okay.
got an
All right.
appointment. The question is, how good is your cover?
Right.
Yeah. So at this point, you can simply say, yes, I'm so-and-so, I'm here for. Now, in terms of cover names, it can get too complicated to keep having different names. So, you know, you are Nacho and Cam.
Okay.
Because no one believes that's your real name.
No one, of course. Why not use the real one?
Oh, yes. Yeah, she can see you've got an appointment with Dr. Weber. Okay, can you just take a seat?
Yes, of course. And I must say, you have lovely eyes. He says, thank you so much for your hospitality coming here. And then Nacho turns and goes and takes his seat where he can actually keep an eye on the receptionist.
What was he hoping? Is he hoping to get something out of that little interaction, or?
Yeah, he's hoping an in later on with the receptionist to see if he can actually get some more information out of her. Always willing to charm whoever he's speaking with in order to prime them to be an asset later.
And you know, spotting the name on her badge, Juliet, may or may not be. We'll discover if she was charmed by you shortly,
or not,
or not, as the case may be. Now, in terms of your cover, Nacho, this is a disguise role in effect, right? So you're going to be if you were a false face, if you had disguise and expertise, this would be, you would have an expertise dice. But right now, either you have put together this cover, or you have called on a contact to do so. Calling on a contact gives you temporary access to expertise you otherwise wouldn't have. Okay?
Okay.
It could also give you a reroll. There's not normally a reroll in this game, but if you want to try how good is my CV, you know, how convincing is the cover I've set up, and that goes badly, you can always tell me, yes, but remember, you know, Jürgen, my Berlin forger. Yeah. And all it costs you is marking stress.
Oh, that's all.
That's all. Okay. So
the potential to mark stress, or the definitiveness of marking
the definitive
stress?
of tick the box. Yeah.
Tick the box. Yes. Okay.
So let's cut to Dr. Weber's office then. Yeah. Cam, you're following what's happening in here. You haven't got sound, but you've got vision. And you're picking up sound in Nacho's vicinity through his ear mic. Is there anything you want to do while Nacho is being escorted up to Dr. Weber's office?
I'll look and see what Dr. Weber was up to before the meeting.
Let's have you roll to investigate then. This is using your hacking skill. So you have the gray dice and the orange dice, the stress dice if you really want to up the chances for success. A 5. So I can tell you something that is noticeable. There are no cameras in Dr. Weber's office. Okay. But you do see Dr. Weber returning to his office. Is there anything else you want to ask me about where he might be coming from, or what he might have been doing a little earlier?
Yeah, where was he coming from?
I think you get the impression that Dr. Weber doesn't do a lot of treatment, but you see him. All the rooms are individual. There's no such thing as a ward here. Good God, no. And you can see him maybe with someone whose face is bandaged, perhaps after some plastic surgery. And you can see him. He's looking at the chart, and you can see him making all those reassuring body language motions. and then, you know, patting them on the hand, and leaving. Does that get you a flavor of what Dr. Weber is about?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, Nacho, Dr. Weber has a personal assistant called Michael.
Mhm.
Michael is classy. He has a cut glass British accent. He is so sharply turned out. He's the only person so far in terms of staff who you've seen in a suit. And, you know, you thought you pushed the boat out far enough for your cover for this suit. But Michael is dressed that is millimeter sharp to him. Yeah. And he says, it's really quite unusual for Dr. Weber to interview people personally. You do know how difficult it is to get a job here, don't you?
Yes, I have heard. And now that I see the caliber of the kinds of persons that work for Dr. Weber, I see that, yes, this might be quite a challenge.
And he Dr. Weber's on his way, but can I just check a few details in your resume?
Of course.
And he, you know, just tests that what's written down is what you tell him. So remind me, what were you doing between the 2013 and 14? Oh yes, I see. Yes. And you know, this is spycraft. This is tradecraft. You've memorized that. That's not a problem. The question is, has he picked any hole in it? So this is, I think, where we determine if you have successfully maintained your cover.
Okay.
Whether what you've set up is convincing. So we're going to use the maintain your cover move. You do not have disguise, so you are not going to start with expertise. You're just rolling the gray dice unless you want to include the green one.
Let me just quickly look at the move. Maintain your cover. Ooh, that's not good. 1, 2, 3. It's fleeing from my life. That's really pretty bad.
Or get caught.
Or get caught, yeah. Well, why don't I try a stress dice?
Let's try a stress dice. So you're rolling the gray and the green. Let's see what happens.
All right. Well,
there
I'm
you
glad
go.
I had
Look
that green.
Aren't you glad you got a 4? Because 4 means your cover holds and they don't find you. So the cover that you set up was sufficiently convincing. Yeah.
Okay.
The problem is that whenever you include the stress dice in a dice pool, and it rolls equal to or higher than any other dice, stress automatically goes up by 1.
All right. So my stress goes up.
Stress is now 3. How does our audience know that Nacho is just, you know,
a little stress is going up? Ooh, that's my gear, not my stress. Let me get the stress up here. I would say, Nacho is too sophisticated to have a tick.
Oh yeah.
So he doesn't have an obvious tell, but
oh no, I mean Michael won't spot this. It's just
Michael won't spot this.
No,
it's just the audience. Yeah, if the camera zooms in, there's just like a little beads of perspiration on his temple.
You know, so little that it's evaporated before it's reached his cheek.
Before it's reached his cheek, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And then Dr. Weber sweeps in, looks at you, looks at Michael. Michael says, "Oh, this is your 1015, Doctor. Interview for a position?" And Weber kind of, "Oh yes, I'd forgotten that I'd agreed to do it. Damn. No offense. Please come in." And he sweeps into his office. And of course, Cam will be watching this and sees Nacho disappear into the room and the door closed behind
the black
him.
Box. But she can still speak to me.
She can still speak and she can still hear what's going on around you. So, Cam, is there anything you want to do before we cut to inside Dr. Weber's office?
Is this the only door to Dr. Weber's office that I at least have cameras on?
That's a good question. I think this is, again, roll to investigate. I think to see whether you, by looking at other cameras, can you get an external view of it, maybe? It must have a window. It must be a corner office, mustn't it?
Of course.
So you're rolling with expertise. My question is, do you want to include the stress dice to increase your chance of success?
I'm going to go with no again.
And why should you when you roll a 5?
Yeah.
So I will tell you that it is a corner office. It's an inside corner office. There's a kind of atrium come quadrangle in the middle of this old building, but it's been glassed over. So in the quadrangle now is a swimming pool and a sitting out space and access to a spa and all those things you would expect in this kind of place. But there is a camera that's focused down into that quadrangle, into that atrium, that gives you some view of this corner office. And I think that, you know, the reflection isn't ideal, but you think that you can see Nacho sitting down behind a desk with Weber with his back to the window. Okay. And Nacho, it's perfunctory.
Mm-hmm.
The interview. He's got the piece. He picked up the file from Michael Noy and he just runs down it. And clearly, Michael has been ticking or initialing things as he's gone through with you.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "Oh, that's quite impressive. You worked for Herr Muller, yes?"
Yes, for 2 years for Herr Muller and for some of his associates in the German Parliament.
And how is his gout?
His gout is much better at this point. He's almost fully recovered. And I think the care that he's received has been exemplary. And he certainly wrote me a fine recommendation based upon that.
And he looks up and one eyebrow goes up. And frankly, you're not sure whether there was
correct
gout.
or not.
You don't remember in the briefing on each of these people. You don't remember whether Muller did indeed have gout, or was it a broken leg? Shit, can't remember. But he doesn't. Either he is going with it,
Mm-hmm.
or you were right. And he says, "Well, I think that you would fill the post very well. When can you start?"
I can start immediately if you have need of me, sir. I'm flattered that you've decided to hire me at your fine institution.
Hits the intercom button. Michael, yes, this one will do. Yes, if you could arrange for induction. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr.
Cortez. Cortez.
Thank you. And he puts your file to one side, turns to look away, and you are dismissed. Do you want to do anything else, or do you just want to leave the office?
Is there like I don't know, a spot something out of place kind of move or something to figure out whether he's on to me or not, or whether this is a setup?
Okay, let's have you roll to investigate. What have you noticed during this fairly brief and perfunctory interview? So is there, I think I will give you tradecraft as appropriate expertise to spot this. So you're rolling with expertise. The option on the stress dice is always there for you.
I think I've already got 3 stress, so I think I'll pass on the stress dice for the moment and hope for the best with the 2 die. Remind me what the die beneath it is?
That really only applies if you blow something up or use deadly.
No, I'm not going to kill him.
Yet.
Yet. All right. Here we go. Oh, so that's bad.
Oh, So on a 1 to 3, you get the minimum amount of information you need to proceed and mark heat due to your clumsy approach or an evidence trail you inadvertently leave behind. So I am going to mark heat,
Okay.
which turns the conspiracy from suspicious to alarmed. What I think I will cut to is a little cut scene that shows a badly lit office where we see someone looking at the same paperwork Michael was looking at. And they're going down. We see them go down as we saw Michael go down. And then we come to Herr Muller. And Herr Muller, it says, broken leg. And this person reaches for a telephone. Nothing's going to happen until they get to capture or attack. But the conspiracy has noticed something that you would prefer they had not noticed. Yeah?
Understood.
So you don't pick anything else up, really, apart from the fact that he appears to be above board. You know, there are medical certificates on the wall. Nothing untoward. Okay?
Okay. Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
And as you leave, Michael says, good, just sit down for a moment, would you please? And he buzzes someone. Yes, could you do an induction? Yeah, okay, thank you. Click. You are going to be taken on an induction tour. Cam, what do we see you doing after you see in, the outside camera, you squint at this reflection? All seems to go very well. Nacho leaves, sigh of relief as he emerges into Michael's office. What are you going to do next, Cam? It's a legitimate answer to say, keep a watching brief.
Yeah, I'm going to keep watch on Nacho and
watch his back.
Yeah.
Okay. If I think something's going to happen, Nacho, then I will give Cam an opportunity to see whether she spots it. Okay, I think it might be time. So I think you are already divided. The team is split. So I'm now on the operation tab, and because you didn't define any obstacles, I get free rein on defining some complications. So my first one is the one that I didn't have to engineer. So I thank you for that. You are divided. You are separated in time and or space. But I think I will also go for crowd control. It is very busy as you're taken through the retreat. And it's not just busy in the sense of lots of people, but there are groups of people. It is celebrities and their entourages. And it becomes very clear, is it a man or woman who's showing you around?
Let's say it's a woman.
Okay, let's call her Michelle.
Okay.
As Michelle is showing you around, you see her at intervals and she's flattened against the wall, really. Because when these entourages sweep through, you should not be in the way. And I guess what it tells your espionage brain is getting out of here, if I have to run for it, is going to be a challenge, because there are these groups of people just blocking corridors everywhere you look, going from one treatment to another.
Unless we can create a distraction.
Well, there you go. There you go. And so where do you want them to take you that would be helpful to the operation, Nacho? Because you're shown, treatment rooms, all this stuff. But with an eye on your objective, where are you hoping they're going to take you?
Well, I'm hoping they're going to take me near records. And so maybe I say to Michelle, making small talk with Michelle, and asking her how long she's been here. It's a beautiful place. You must love it here, blah, blah, blah. And I also tell her, I really like to do research on my clients so that I can serve them as well as possible. And do you folks have a local records room or someplace where I can study the client's histories?
Yes, yeah, we do. I mean, all our records are online. They're securely, obviously. Um, um, uh, so, yeah, I'll, there are staff computers where you can access that, official ones.
Mhm.
And she takes you into, it says no entry, staff only.
Mhm.
And there are a couple of computers around the room.
Mhm.
And, she kind of types in and app comes and she says, you just scroll through, to find who you're
Uh-huh.
interested in.
Can I memorize her password, or am I going to get a password of my own?
I think you're unlikely because it'll take them a little time to do that,
Put me in the
uh,
system, yeah.
to put you on the system. So I think probably you do try to memorize her key movements,
Hmm.
both username and password.
Hmm.
Um, we'll test how successful you are
Of course.
when the time comes to try. Or can I ask Cam? Cam, have you given Nacho some device that would allow you to access the records from where you are, I wonder?
Yes, I gave him a USB key fob with.
It's always a USB, isn't it? But he has to get in the back of the machine where nobody notices. Of course it is. So Nacho, just tapping your trouser pocket and you feel that tiny little, USB. If you could just get that in the back of this machine, everything would be fine.
So Nacho just leans over as Michelle is typing away and showing him the records, and he just gently puts his left hand on her left shoulder as she looks, and then as she turns a little bit to look there, and his right hand goes behind the computer to try to slip in the USB.
This seems like a little bit of sleight of hand. This seems like do something else.
Okay.
I'm going to give you the benefit of tradecraft because I think if a spy cannot
Pull this off,
put a
okay.
USB stick in the back of a machine
What kind
where
of spy is he, anyways?
the genre is destroyed. So you're rolling the gray dice and the expertise dice. Do you really want to make sure you do this well by putting the stress dice in play? How important is this to you, Nacho?
How important is this? If we get in, so my sense is, Nacho's sense is that if we get in, then we have a high likelihood of getting what the objective is, right? If we can get into the computer system.
It's almost like you planned it this way.
It's almost like that. I think it was Cam that did it. Sure. Why don't I do another stress dice? Is there any way to get rid of stress? Oh, yes,
Yes, there is.
You'll talk to us about that later.
I will. Once you reach 4, I will talk to you about it.
You'll be like, excuse me. All right, here we go.
3 dice. I mean, oh, look at
6.
that. A 6, and it's not even on the stress dice.
Oh, so I don't get.
There is no automatic increase in stress. This is tremendous. Let's
like
look at
gambling.
Something else. You succeed brilliantly, and control will agree with you what extra benefit you get. So apart from now having provided Cam with a way into the database, what other benefit do you want to have come out of this?
Michelle is totally taken with me.
Michelle is smitten. And she looks at your arm and she just pats it. But he also says, and also mark intel.
Oh, okay.
Because there's something else that you've spotted during this scene that might be useful.
Okay. And I don't define that immediately, right?
No, that's a resource for you to spend later. But it also says when you roll a 6, you also discover something scary about the conspiracy.
Oh, okay. Shall I narrate that, or will you?
If you would like to tell me what this may not be about the conspiracy, but it's what is going to justify me telling you to roll for stress in a moment.
um,
Is it something Michelle says? Something else you notice around the room? Maybe it's something you remember from Dr. Weber's office. I don't know.
oh, something I remember from Dr. Weber's office. Tell me the prompt again. That's something about the conspiracy that is going to scare me.
That's going to scare you. Whether think of it as something that scares you in this moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It needn't be, you spotted there was a vampire in the corner of the office. Whatever you think would just rattle Nacho now.
Well, what would rattle Nacho? Let's see. Oh gosh. I'm trying to think if there's a way that he could have spotted something about his cover being undermined. That would rattle him, but maybe something juicier narratively. Oh, I think one of the things that is as she's scrolling through the names of the patients, she sees, the Prime Minister of Spain has been to this spa, and that rattles Nacho, to think that there might be some connection between the highest government in his country and the conspiracy.
That works very nicely for me. Thank you.
Okay.
Suddenly, maybe that's why the CNI let you go. Okay, I'm conscious that we're at 7 minutes past the hour. I'd like to call another break. Can we take this break until 1/4 the hour? Is that long enough?
That's good.
Okay, see you at 1/4 the hour. I'll pause the recording. Hang on. Okay. Hang on. Oh, there it is. Sorry, my screen went a bit funny then. Forgive me. Okay, let's just deal with Nacho's roll for stress. So the way the roll for stress goes is you roll the green dice, and if it is higher than your current stress goes up by 1.
Oh, so I want low.
You do. You do. What it means is that the worse it gets, the harder it gets for it to go up. It's very fair. It's very fair.
All right, here we go. Oh no.
and 5 would be a good result in almost every other circumstance. So stress goes up to 4, Nacho.
Okay.
Yeah. I do want to just check in with you as players. Mari, we okay? Is there something that yeah, we're rolling okay? Okay. What about you, Jose? Is all well?
Everything's fine, yeah.
Okay. If remember, intervene if I'm drifting off or going somewhere else. So Nacho, stress went up from 3 to 4. So do we focus on this bead of sweat again? Does it get slightly further down?
I think there's darting in Nacho's eyes as he's thinking about the possibilities of the Prime Minister having been at this spa and what that might. He's thinking through all the different conspiratorial, paranoid fantasies that he might have in his head about what that might mean.
Suddenly, the reaction of his bosses is so much clearer.
Right.
So now let me cut back to Cam. As Nacho continues on his way, Cam, we'll see that kind of that green bar on the screen moving along, yeah. But I think we do need to test how good that back door is, because you built this to do a specific job. So I think that this is where technical actually has a part to play. So I think let's have you roll to do something else with technical expertise. Include the stress dice, just to be on the safe side, perhaps, in case the sysops who are watching the system notice something, anything amiss.
Okay.
Well, didn't need the stress in the end. The stress dice has come up lower than anything else, so that is a straightforward 4, works seamlessly.
Good.
You have lifted the database. And how does Nacho know that you've got everything you need?
I tell him we've gotten the package.
Eagle has landed. So Nacho, all you need to do now is get out. It seems. There is only one fly in that ointment, and that is that bug, that back door, that USB stick is still in the back of that machine. Was the plan, Cam, that Nacho would retrieve that? Or is it just take the money and run now?
I think the hope would have been that he retrieve it if possible.
Okay. So Nacho, what's your reaction to that? Before you answer that question, let me just point you at a tab marked Seek Relief from the Horror. There are various ways in which you can seek relief from the horror. And it says, when the fiction allows and control agrees, choose one of the options below. It will immediately reduce stress by 1. But there's always a cost. So for instance, if I take you to the top left there, if you verbally or physically abuse someone or chat them up in the hope of meaningless sex, it can cost your access to your expertise, or it can mark heat. If things, so all of them are of that ilk. There is one called Seek Solace in a Relationship. If you say something new about your anchor, as you just focus on Jalal in this moment of stress, who are their friends would be the next question I'd be asking you about Jalal. And if you were to tell us or narrate a scene with Jalal and his friends, you're guaranteed a reduction of at least 1 in your stress. And all it means is that Jalal becomes a conspiracy target.
Oh, great.
It's kind of pain-free for Nacho.
So let me work narratively, and then you tell me how it works mechanically, what makes sense mechanically. So I'm thinking that Cam and I had a discussion about how long this particular process would take, how long the little green bar would take to go across the screen once once the dongle was in. So since I have Michelle's attention, Paco's going to just pour on the charm, asking more to roll through other. Oh, and how do you? What's this? And what do you? He's buying time for this process to for Cam to get the information she needs and download the package.
And waiting for that, the package has arrived. And
then the package has arrived, comes in through his earpiece, and then sensing that Michelle is susceptible at this moment to his charms that we've established before, right? Mm-hmm. And there's nobody else in the records room at the moment. He leans in for a kiss.
Fine.
Now, it might be, I was thinking about him behaving badly. He might be trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, but having some meaningless sex and distracting Michelle long enough for him to get the dongle out of the back of the computer.
I think that you know, we can draw a veil over the detail.
Over the details, yes.
But certainly that would make narrative sense. Mm-hmm. So let's have you reduce stress by 1 for behaving so heartlessly.
Heartlessly towards the woman.
Manipulatively. And then have you roll the stress dice to see what the consequence is.
Okay. Oh, so I just roll the green die.
You just roll the green die and we read what's on the...
Okay. Oh, it's a 5 again.
5. So 4+, and they are an NPC. Mark heat and agree with control how this comes to the conspiracy's attention. What does Michelle do when you make your advance that is going to draw people's attention?
Oh, that's an interesting challenge because we're alone in a room.
Yeah.
Oh, is there a camera on us, Cam?
There certainly is.
I think that
I'm
would be the
sensing kind of,
attention.
shit, Nacho.
Shit,
Now?
Nacho.
I've marked heat. You
Okay.
just need to, or you can bounce that back to me. You know, anytime that I put a question to you or ask you something, you want to bounce it at me, that's fine.
Uh-huh. So you've marked heat, and
you have to tell me how this approach to Michelle is going to end up with somebody in the conspiracy taking more notice of this than perhaps they should have.
yeah, whoever's watching, I know Cam's watching, but there's a veil, so she doesn't really see. But whoever's watching is whoever's watching is a security person and is aware that I'm new, hasn't seen me before, and just being inducted. And that this is immediately happening right now raises his suspicions that there might be Michelle herself might be a risk, a security risk.
Right.
For her actions.
Fine. And so someone's going to have a quiet word with Michelle about what went on in the records room.
Right.
Okay.
And the details of that might come back to bite me. Yeah.
It might. So now the question is, do you also manage to get the dongle and get out in you know?
Oh, that's right. Also,
like the smooth operator that you are.
That you hope to be.
I think this is probably maintain your cover.
Okay. Which I don't have any help with, right?
Oh no, persuasion.
Oh, persuasion. Okay.
Is I think, you know, you are charming.
I'm trying to charm her.
And really we're testing whether she notices.
She notices
anything else.
She's being charmed. well, we're being charmed.
And you can always put the stress dice in there, you know, if this is really important to you.
Yeah. I just reduce stress, but it's a stressful mission. I'm undercover. All right, I'll put the stress die in and we'll see what happens.
Oh, look at that, a 6.
Well, I got a 6 on the gray.
You did. So on a 6, you succeed brilliantly, and control will agree with you what extra benefit you get. Michelle is entirely under your spell.
Okay, excellent.
Okay?
Excellent.
You don't have to. That's done. Is this in terms of you know, you've succeeded in getting the dongle?
I've just succeeded in getting the dongle, and my next objective is to get the hell out of there. So I'm thinking. I say to Michelle, I've heard that there are some beautiful gardens here on the property, and I was wondering if you could show me those as part of my induction tour.
There are acres of gardens.
Acres of gardens.
But because you rolled a 6, you also get to mark intel.
Oh, okay, excellent.
Are you intending to go to the gardens with Michelle, or is this a way to give her the slip?
My intention is to get out of the building into the gardens and see if there's a path for me to escape the grounds without returning back through the house.
Fine.
I may have to incapacitate Michelle in the process, or I don't know. Yeah, I haven't decided that yet.
I think that works perfectly because you are going to have to roll for stress because you rolled a 6.
Oh, I see. Oh, so every time you roll a 6, you have to roll for stress. Okay.
In an intel, risk the stress.
My. So balanced.
So
there's no freebies, no free lunches here.
No free lunches here. The conspiracy offers very few second chances. So what is it that you find disturbing? Because you're going to get out. Michelle will show you a back way out if you want it. Because she's in, absolutely, and your thrall. But something on this journey before you get out. And presumably, Cam, I'll be at the rear exit.
Right. But there's something else that's going to cause me stress
It is.
on the way out. On the way out.
That's going to worry you.
Hmm.
Feel free to bounce it back to me.
Yeah. If you have an idea, or if Cam has an idea of something I see or spot that would be disturbingly stressful.
Cam, anything, or do you want to, just pass the ball to me?
I'll just pass it to you.
I think that the way that she takes you out to the gardens, so as to be, more discreet, and she, whatever excuse you give her, she swallows whole. And on the way out, you go down into the basement level and then up into the gardens, and there are secure cells in the basement. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the roll for stress.
Okay. And
so roll the green dice and let's hope it's low.
3.
That's fine. It is
That
less. It has to be more than stress, so that's fine. So cut to you, Michelle. Kisses you, and sees you out through a back gate. You disappear around a corner, and there is the black van with Cam in it, and you drive away. Yeah. Okay. So debrief then. Back at the safe house. Cam, I can tell you, because you succeeded in your objective, you have the records. The records for Throndal, the supposed vampire,
yes,
they are barely a placeholder.
Mm-hmm.
There's the kind of detail, all the records, they all have very well filled in details. But his is patently fake and is barely more than a placeholder. It doesn't confirm he's a vampire, though.
Disappointing.
But there is an interesting, as you're kind of working your way through the fields, there is one field in there which is source of referral.
Mm-hmm.
And it's doctor this, it's all. But there's the referral for Throndal is GSV Technologies.
Interesting.
And there's an invitation to, every time you find a referral, there's an invitation to click on it to see other referrals.
Right.
And there is only one other referral from GSV Technologies. Mm-hmm. And that's for a young woman called Eva Haflich. I'll put this in the operation in a bit, but this young woman, aged about 20, and the referral is the only one with the same referrer as Throndal, and her records are really thorough.
Interesting.
And there's an additional page which it looks like they've gene profiled her.
Huh.
And that's when you skim through looking for some other records, nothing like that.
I see.
Okay.
Is there anything called out in the gene profile or highlighted or marked or anything of note?
I mean, you've got technical expertise. Let's have you roll to find out, shall we? So roll to investigate. With expertise, stress dice if you want it.
I'll throw in the stress dice.
She's cracked. Oh, look at that. 1, 2, and 3. So all you get for that is the minimum amount of information you need to proceed and mark heat. It looks like that sysop has spotted something. Or would you like to re-roll that? Because the way to re-roll it would be to call on a contact. So maybe you don't try to work out whether there's something about that gene profile that matters. Maybe you have a contact that you could send it to.
Sure, I'll try that.
Yeah. Well, at the bottom of your character keeper, you will find a section called contact.
Yes.
And the expertise that you are looking for, I think, is probably a medic of some kind.
All right.
So if you hit the drop down and select what you think this contact could offer you, that might allow you to, get a second opinion on this profile, and give them a name and some pronouns. They needn't be German. They can be anywhere in the world.
Yeah, we'll go with
We've got enough Germans in the system.
Dominique Martinez.
Fine. So Dominique, and it sounds like she, her, but I wouldn't call you on that one.
Yeah.
And we see a little cutscene where, Dominique get, ping email in from you saying, did you just look over this? Anything interesting? And you got email back that says, one of the sections of the profile, the genetic profile, is labeled AVH. And that's not, that's not one of the combinations of letters that we use to label, genetic predispositions or genetic conditions. AVH just, doesn't crop up.
Interesting.
So, what, and of course, the email exchange will ask you what you think it is. Do you tell Dominique? All of these contacts are vaguely shadowy, shall we say?
Yeah, I tell her that I'm pursuing a lead about vampires and
then FaceTime. Cam, give it a break, Cam. Just climb out of that hole. You had a career.
Oh.
Jesus.
Thanks
Click.
for helping me there.
So Dominique is now part of the background. So let's consider what your options are then. What do you think you want to do with this? Let's go to Cam first. Cam, you've got a name, Eva Haflick. You've got GSV Technologies, and there's something about Eva's gene profiling that is interesting to someone, GSV Technologies, that seems also to have a connection to Throndal. What would you like to know next?
I want to know more about GSV
Technologies.
Yes.
Okay. What about you, Nacho? Are you in for that? Or do you think tracking down Eva Haflick is more important?
No, I'm in for that. Since they're the ones who actually referred both of them to the spa.
Okay.
Quick question. Was there a re-roll from the contacts, or do the contacts just kind of?
There should have been a re-roll.
Okay.
I've given you a freebie. Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out how it works.
No, you're quite right.
We'll take the freebie. We'll take the freebie.
Yeah. Have the freebie. You see, that's what comes of having a one shot where you want to kind of cover some ground. So yeah, have that one on me. I've now moved up the tabs Operation 2, because I think we're going to get a look at GSV Technologies before we finish tonight. I think this is lead is GSV Technologies. The focus. Well, look, let me start with what I can tell you for nothing. Okay. They are a medical equipment manufacturer with subsidiaries all across Europe. They're German by base, but they're spread all across. And what's interesting is that one of the subsidiaries is based in Bucharest, Romania, which happens to be where Eva Haflick is from,
Mhm.
according to the records. So in terms of where this is going to go on, I'm assuming this operation is going to focus on GSV.
Mhm.
And I'm going to assume that it's the Bucharest subsidiary. Who doesn't want to go to Romania in a vampire movie? What do you think is going to be your objective with GSV, Cam? You were the mover into determining that's where you wanted to have a look. Why were you interested? What would you like to find out?
I'd like to find out I guess find out what exactly they've been doing with these pair of people and what their ties are. Because you said they're a medical equipment manufacturer, which is an odd company to be referring people to a spa.
Isn't it? Isn't that the case? It really does seem that's a very... So what I've done is I've added a bit of detail to the lead at the top of Operation 2. What I think you just told me is why perhaps. Why is GSV interested in Throndal and Eva Haflich? You know, what does a millionaire playboy have to do with a Bucharest art student in her 20s? So in one of those screen wipes that say Bucharest, yeah, we cut to Bucharest. Let's start with Cam this time. Let's have Cam. I think this is probably going to take an investigative scene for you to dig into some of the background around GSV.
Yes.
So what do we, you know, how do we know that Cam is doing heavy research into GSV? What do we see?
We see her in some apartment room or rented room with a laptop and a couple monitors set up. She has a energy drink in a can. She's, you know, finding all the records she can find about the company, obviously starting with the public information and then going from
And then
there.
digging. Okay. Well, this sounds like investigate with research. This is what, you know, this is what is your stock in trade, Cam, just digging into data. So you're rolling with expertise, the stress dice if you want it. Again.
Sure, my stress is low.
I mean, it's like 2.
Yeah. 4, 1, 4.
Oh, now it's 3. But you get the basic information. It's a really glossy website. German-owned subsidiaries around the world, high-quality medical equipment manufacture, research, design, and manufacture. Some of it built, you know, kind of to order. And the website is full of, you know, scientists, beautiful scientists, looking intently at stuff. It's very polished. But then as you dig a bit deeper, and you begin to kind of track some of the names of staff and just dig into their backgrounds, its principal, you know, business is medical equipment. But either it has a sideline in gene lines and genetic profiling, or there's just an incredible coincidence that a significant minority of its staff have CVs with that in it. So the sense you get is that there's a public facing, and then there's something else it's doing, which kind of just reinforces your suspicion, I think, Cam.
Yes.
But you rolled a 4, so you get to ask me a question or tell me something. You can invent a fact about this if you want to.
I guess my question is who at Bucharest, say, is their lead genetics person or sort of heading up that part of their operation?
I think I can give you a name for that. I think I made a note of a name. I think the name is a Dr. Karine Axelsson. I'll put her in the sheet somewhere.
Great.
You know, she has a significant history in the field, and let's put Karine Axelsson in the faces and places. And I'm sure somewhere I've got a picture of someone who would do. The trouble is, can I find it in a hurry? Ah, there she is. Okay, she's in the Faces and Places tab, and there is Dr. Karine Axelsson. She is lead researcher at GSV Bucharest and has no qualifications in the core business, but a raft of papers in genetic profiling, etc. Okay. So Karine Axelsson is of interest. Nacho, what might you want to know about GSV Bucharest? I tell you what, before I ask you that, Nacho, let me ask you whether you want to have spent some time between Kielberg and Bucharest blowing off a little steam.
How is my steam right now? My steam is at a 3, I think, right?
Yeah, both of you at 3. I'll come back to Cam in a moment to find out whether Camille has a vice of choice, perhaps. So as I say, Nacho, you know, do you
yeah,
want to?
That was a little stressful. I'm still thinking about the fact that the prime minister was at that spa. I'm thinking about this whole genetic profiling thing, and my little paranoid brain is going crazy.
Do you give Michelle a second thought?
Oh, Michelle, of course. That makes sense. Before I leave, although she is kind of a loose end, isn't she?
I'm just curious.
I'm just curious. No, I don't think I give her a second thought, actually. I don't think Nacho would go back to someone. I mean, because, you know, we basically, you know, hack their system. It could be that,
Exactly.
you know, their alarm is up. So he's not going to go back into that den or make any connection with that. But maybe upon arrival in Bucharest, where he hasn't been in a long time, he might try to blow off some steam. And is that the
Seek relief from the horror?
Seek relief from the horror. That's the one. Okay. Well, so I could behave badly. I could indulge a vice. Oh, I could reveal some of your history together.
You could. You could. We could find out some more about you and Cam. The next question on that one is your recollection, because there are only 2 of you. The save you, save them is kind of covered off.
Right,
so
yeah.
your recollection of a time it went sour or confirmed your friendship.
And then there's a roll after that as well.
Yeah, to see how badly it goes.
How badly it went.
Remember, no freebies.
No freebies, of course, none in this game. I get it. How about I go and indulge a vice? I'm going to do that.
Fine. So what is your vice of choice? Get drunk, get high?
Let me see. What would Nacho do? You know what he likes to do? He likes to bet on dog fights. He's that kind of guy.
Oh, wow. Wow.
There's some violent part of himself.
Yeah.
He's not. Yeah, there's some violent part of him that
I feel like we're peeling away the layers of this good-looking Spanish guy. Aye. Okay. Yeah. Well, reduce stress by 1.
Oh, okay. That automatically.
That's an automatic. And then we just roll a d6 to see what's got what if there's a downside to this.
Okay, and then I roll a d6. The green one, right?
By choice. Yeah.
It's a 3.
You were ashamed of yourself and distracted by your need for just one more drink or hit, just a little bit more of the excitement of the illicit dogfight scene in Bucharest. Yeah, yes, exactly. Cam, true. I am shaking my head as well.
Hey, we're supposed to make them despicable, aren't we?
Indeed. Yeah, I think these are not necessarily nice people. So can you just see on row 7 of the character sheet, expertise, currently there's a drop down that says available. You will find the alternative to available behind that.
Cannot be used. Okay.
Cannot be used. So anything that you do now, expertise will not count.
Oh no.
So tradecraft, persuasion, and deadly are off the table until stress goes up again.
Until stress goes up again. I see.
Okay. There is an intel spend that could do the job, but we'll cover that if the need arises. Okay. Cam, you have been, we've seen the clock on the wall of this, go round several times as you've been digging into this. Are you feeling like you need to seek relief from the horror?
Yeah, she needs a break from all of this. She's going to find a nightclub in Bucharest, somewhere with a clientele that's a bit younger than her and loud, and find somebody young and attractive who has nothing to do with this lifestyle.
And just forget herself.
Yes.
Fine. So this is chat them up with the hope of meaningless sex. So again, reduce stress by 1. That's a given. And then just roll the stress dice to see what, if any, consequence there is. A 6. So it says 4+ and they are an NPC. Mark heat and agree with control how this comes to the conspiracy's attention.
Maybe maybe the person that she hooked up with, who she thought had nothing to do with this whole lifestyle, in fact has some tie unbeknownst to her.
The following morning, perhaps, do we see Cam going through the walk of shame as she leaves this guy's apartment, or is it the other way around? Yeah, okay.
She's not going to bring him to her place. She doesn't trust them that much.
No, that would be so not the right thing to do. And I think as Cam walks away down the street, we look at and we see he looks out, and we see him. Yeah, on the phone. Yeah. The alarmed track is now full. the next stress will result in an attempt to capture you.
Oh, no.
I'm always very happy for people to seek relief from the horror more than once.
Did I
Nacho?
get the extra stress reduction because it was a 6?
Oh, you do? Yes, on a 6. Reduce stress by another one. It was that good.
At least it was worth it. Very relaxing.
Well spotted.
Obviously.
Thank you. Nacho, you know, the next time we see Cam is cool. Cam is relaxed. There's a certain glow about her. What about Nacho? You wanna seek more relief from the horror?
Yeah, I'm kind of hangdog because I feel I didn't mean that. I'm a little bit ashamed of myself after indulging in that vice. I think I might seek solace in my relationship.
Oh, will you? Okay. So
Maybe I can call Jalal or some way, or maybe just in memories of him. Is that how it
exactly.
Okay.
What this is meant to do is to give us, the audience, more of a picture of Jalal, make Jalal more three-dimensional. So when the conspiracy takes him off the street,
works?
we worry about him.
We would care about him.
We care about him. Okay. So
Okay.
who are his friends? What do we paint a little scene of Jalal with the friends he has now that relate more to his corporate background than the clearly seedy life he led with you.
Hey, I wasn't always this way. I've been damaged.
You have been damaged. You have.
Let's see. You know what Jalal does just for fun? Because he's got a really brilliant mind. And there's a park in Barcelona where all the old men and old ladies actually all play chess. And he goes there to play chess, and he likes the fact that everyone knows him there, but no one really knows what he does, and no one knows about his past. And so there's kind of a cleanness or a wholesomeness to the connection that he has with these elderly folks playing chess in the park in Barcelona.
Now you still have to roll the dice,
Okay.
because there's a 1+ and a 6 result. So we need to know if you get a 6.
Oh, okay. It's just one die, right?
Yeah.
A 2.
Okay, so 1+, mark your answer, placing them on the conspiracy target list or missing if they're already a target. So you tick that first box.
Okay.
And I will insert a cut scene, which is an old lady who comes up, maybe a game has just finished with Jalal, and an old lady who says, I haven't played here before. Might we play?
Why, please, I would be overjoyed to play with you.
And this new person in Jalal's life sits down opposite him. Is she a conspiracy plant? We don't know yet. Okay, so we are as relaxed as we're going to be. Everyone's cool on the should reduce stress by down to 1, I think. Nacho at this point. Yeah, there we go. Everyone's as cool as can be. We did the scene for Cam, which gave us that bit of background involving Karine Axelsson. What about Nacho? What do you want to know about GSV technologies that might allow you to, I don't know, find out what's going on?
Okay. Let's see. So Cam's doing her thing with the records and with her contacts. Nacho doesn't really know anything about genetics, although he's been playing over in his head over and over again the AVH acronym and how that V stands out for him. So yeah, what he really wants to know is about that AVH. Because this was in the profile of Ava, right? It's not in the profile of the count. Maybe what he wants to do, since they're already in Bucharest and Cam's already covering GSV, Would it be outside of the operation to track down Ava?
Oh, you could certainly try that, couldn't you? Okay. How's he going to do that? Because from the records that Cam's been able to rip off, you've got a Bucharest address for her.
Right.
And so, you know, how do we see you working that investigation to try and maybe see her? Or
Yeah, well, first I would stake out her place. Is there a picture of her in the file?
I think we can probably come up with a picture for her.
Oh, I was like, just yeah, okay, no, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. We want.
But Nacho knows what she looks like.
Yeah, he does. So paint a picture for me. What do we see Nacho doing?
So Nacho is staking out her apartment. He's in a tiny little car, little Romanian compact car of some sort. I don't know what they're called, and he's just on the street across from her apartment, and he's just drinking a cup of coffee and staking out. And at some point, I don't know. I was going to say that he sees her come down the steps.
It would be good if it was that simple.
It would be good if it was that simple, but it's
not. So I think this is rolling to investigate. So you can ask me some questions.
Okay.
About the circumstances. So you are rolling with expertise. You are very welcome to add the stress dice if that's what you would like.
Oh, but I don't have any expertise at the moment.
Oh, right? That's right. So yeah, you're just rolling. Oh, of course, yeah, you're just rolling the gray dice.
But I'll definitely roll the stress dice
because you quite like your stress to go up again, wouldn't you?
I'd like my stress to go up just a little bit so I can get my expertise back.
Yeah.
And it's an investigative roll. Okay.
It is.
Oh my.
Oh well, look at that.
I just got a 6.
You did. It doesn't get much better than that. So on a 6, I can tell you the basic information that you spot Eva Haflich coming. I think she's leaving in the evening. Yeah. Mm-hmm. She's leaving in the evening and heading off down the street. And a car pulls up next to her, and the window winds down, and she's kind of talking, and clearly she knows whoever's in the car. Mm-hmm. And she gets in the car, and it drives away.
Okay. Can I?
Now you can ask me. You can ask me now 2 questions to follow up on this. Yeah. Or you could do something else, I think, if you wanted to stay in touch with the car and ask me questions about where it went or what it did.
2 questions or the chase.
The 2 questions. I'm not going to make it a chase because I don't think.
Or not a chase, but a follow.
Follow. So you could either ask me about something that you've already seen, or you could ask me, where does the car go? What happens at the end of the journey?
Okay. And I have 2 questions.
You have 2.
Yeah. So I think I do want to get the make, model, and license of the car, if possible.
You can have that for nothing.
Oh, I can have that for nothing. Okay, that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Just Nacho just takes that without even. He's done this before.
Tradecraft. And then So where does the car go?
It drives out of town. Mm-hmm. Towards an industrial site. Okay. On the edge of Bucharest. I say industrial site, industrial park, science park maybe is a better description, because industrial park creates the wrong impression. Science park on the edge of Bucharest. Mm-hmm.
This doesn't happen to be the same address as GSV, does it?
And it drives through the gate around GSV Technologies.
There we go. Bingo.
Fancy that.
Fancy that. All roads lead to Rome.
I think that's one question.
That's one question, where the car leads. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to ask me another question?
Um,
Or bounce it back to me. You know, either you can make something up about this, or you can bounce it back to me.
let me bounce it back to you because I'm nothing's coming up for me right now.
When you kind of pull up across the way, and it pulls in to the parking lot. It's the evening, so you know nobody's at work, but there are some lights on, and a man gets out of the car and walks around to the passenger side, and at the same time, two people with a gurney come out of the building and help him lift an unconscious Eva Havlik onto the gurney and wheel her inside.
Whoa.
That's exactly the reaction I expect, because you are going to roll for stress with a 6.
All right, I roll for stress.
And up
A
it will go.
5. And at least I get my
You mark
expertise
intel.
back.
You mark intel. You get expertise back. I mean, what's not to like about
What's
that?
not to like? All right, I get a lot of intel now.
And yeah, we should now talk about what you could do with it. Do you tell Cam the registration number? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Cam, let's have you roll research with expertise then. Stress dice if you want it, to see what you can find out about the driver, maybe.
Sure. 4 on the stress dice.
Okay, so that means stress goes up automatically. But I will tell you that the car is registered to someone called Drogo Abhazian. And then you can ask me a question about him if you wanted to. Tell you what, would a picture help?
Sure.
Let's see, I think it's that one. Let's try that one for Drogo Abhazian. Yeah, there he is. I've added him to faces and places.
Yes.
He is a sleazy middle-ranking criminal. I'll tell you that for nothing.
All right. What can I find about like his other ties, like employer or any prominent associate or that sort of thing?
You can connect him to a bank. Strange, the Black Sea Bank of Odessa. And the thing that rings a bell for you there is that the Black Sea Bank of Odessa was Simon Throndal's partner in the takeover of the bank that he was in when there was a robbery that led to him disappearing off the scene for a while. So both Drogo and Throndal have a connection to the Black Sea Bank of Odessa. And, you know, if that is not a suspiciously named bank,
yes,
then we are all in the wrong conspiracy business. So I think, Nacho, you know, what are you going to do? I mean, they've just taken Eva in there, you know, I mean, Cam, are you going to stay in the safe house, or are you going to get to GSV? What, you know, what?
I'm heading to GSV.
Of course you are. And
the black van is coming.
The black van is in transit. Black van is in transit. So you could have taken that guy back to the black van. I mean, you know, it's invisible. So the black van rendezvous with the small Romanian compact. And you're outside GSV Technologies. What are we going to do, team?
How do we get in there?
There's a gate that was which had an automatic one of those kind of up and down, nothing very heavily secure on, and then it's a science park. It's not built for security.
There's no security guard in the
Not at the gate, certainly. Sorry, Cam.
You said it's evening currently, and
it is
generally people
not busy. There are some lights on, and in other buildings people are working late, but it's there's a couple of cars in every car park you can see in the vicinity.
Cam, is this as easy a target as it looks from the outside?
I feel like it can't be.
Because at the moment, Operation 2 is looking, what is the threat the operators are going to face? This seems like, nameless organized crime pawns. This is Drogo and some of his cohorts. And what do they appear to be doing? They must be planning something. So I've put planning a crime in because I don't have a simpler drop down to offer. Drogo is shady as can be. So even if this is, this is it, maybe this is just innocent crime.
Is the conversation between Eva and Drogo that Nacho oversaw look friendly or contentious? Or?
It did, and I think I will. Maybe I should have told you this when you were looking up Drogo. Drogo owns a club, Club Gadarene in Bucharest, and it's not a big stretch to suggest that that Eva makes some money dancing in clubs. She could very well be an employee, but you don't normally carry your employees into a science building on a gurney. That your guess is that's not the usual way that dancers arrive at Club Gadarene. What are you going to do?
So I think we need to surveil this place a bit and make sure there's not something we're missing that makes it far more dangerous before we just
that works for me, Cam. Let's do that thing. Digital intrusion research, technical. You don't really have time for research unless you want to go back and spend tonight doing that. So I think that this is probably maybe hacking the local government database to find out what you can about the building.
Yeah, building plans.
Building plans. Yeah, let's have you roll to investigate with expertise, stress dice if you'd like to put it in. How worried are you about Eva?
Somewhat, given that she was wheeled out on a gurney.
Oh, ouch. So on that, the best I can tell you is that unless you can dig deeper, someone has paid to get the plans of that building off the municipal records. So the public accessible records, there is nothing for that building in the Bucharest system, which is shady in itself. Unless you want to call on a contact to maybe get a reroll on that.
Yeah, I'll do that.
So all that means is you mark stress, you go down to the contacts and you pick someone who might, information broker, they can find things out.
That's handy.
Yeah. All it costs is stress.
What a bargain.
And what's this information broker's name?
Let's see.
I doubt he ever tells someone his second name. I'll be honest with you. Andre, the information broker. So that buys you a reroll.
All right.
With expertise, the stress dice if you'd like it.
Oh, I can choose whether to. All right.
Oh yeah, you can always choose. It just matters how much you know, Eva, young girl, gurney, time. Oh, that's better, isn't it? There you go. So yeah, I will give you a plan of the building. Yeah. So once you're in, you will know where you are. Yeah. Okay. So you've got a plan of the building. The best way in is not the way they took the gurney. There's an emergency exit at the back that with a bit of luck and brute force, you might be able to get in through. What do you think? Nacho?
Let's do it.
Cut to the emergency door at the back of the building. Now, Nacho, neither of you have burglary. Yeah? So this is brute strength and ignorance or a call on a contact.
Unless it's an electronic lock.
Ah, now you're talking. Perhaps it is when a technical expertise might apply. Good call. Let's have Cam roll to do something else with her technical expertise. You know, levering off the cover and just, you know, connecting a couple of wires. Stress dice is always available if you like it. Oh, it's going so well. That's a simple success. You know, click. It would have been opened easily from inside, but secure from the outside. Click, you're in. Where do you, having looked at the plans, Nacho, is there somewhere on there that you think that's where I'd take a girl on a gurney?
I'm trying to think how detailed the plans are. I can see the rooms and obviously the layout of the place and the exits and the entrances.
And they're, you know, they allow, prototyping, component development.
Oh, I see. Okay, so are there any things that are not marked that are in proximity that if I was trying to go to this room, I would go through the door that those
that's a good
goons
question.
went into?
Yeah.
That would be the most direct route to.
I think this is a role to ask me a question. So
Yes.
gray dice. I'm not sure that, you know, tradecraft covers layout of scientific buildings. So I think this is just the gray dice unless you choose to include the stress dice.
Okay, I guess I'll choose to include the stress dice. And that only accounts, okay, so the stress dice, if the gray is quite high and the stress is just a tiny bit less high, but still higher than my stress, do I take stress?
No, you only automatically take it if the stress die is equal to
winner
or higher than the other dice you roll.
Okay, got it. All right, let's see what happens. Oh my.
Oh, so that is both a failure.
A failure.
Or a success at a cost. And stress is going to go up.
Okay.
The only way to get a reroll is to call on a contact, and you can come up with a coherent narrative reason why your previous contact with that person means that you're set up not to fail here. So you get a reroll. Or we just go with the.
What happens with a failure?
You will get the basic information, and I will mark heat.
And you will mark heat, which would turn us over to capture.
It would.
How about, and if I do a contact, I mark stress. Is that correct?
Indeed, that's the only cost.
This stress that I just have, should I have marked it right now, or
no?
If I reroll,
no, because if you're going to reroll,
got it.
This one's forgotten.
All right, I'm going to see if I can call on a contact that could help me, because I'm trying to imagine flashing back to preparations.
Of course.
When we got the download of the floor plan, we both looked at it and we were trying to figure out where they might take them. And I might have asked one of my contacts for help since I don't know much about scientific facilities.
Okay. Well, there is an expertise for a contact called analyst. They can put it together.
Okay.
So maybe you know an analyst that you could run this by.
Okay, so...
And of course, it has to be live, doesn't it? You know, it has to be, you're in the building and you say, right, I've just sent you some plans. Now, you know, tell me where the fuck to go.
Tell me where the fuck to go. Okay, I will do that. Her name's Pilar Montero, and she's an analyst, and where the fuck do I go? And then I re-roll the dice.
You do. With expertise.
With expertise.
She gives you that expertise.
Gives me expertise. Okay. And then...
And the stress dice if you want it.
I'll do these two just... well, my stress is already at 3.
Exactly.
Okay. Why don't I just do the stress dice as well? Let's go for it. Whoa.
Oh.
The stress dice gave me 6.
and now you don't know whether to love that or hate it.
I don't know. There's no simple things here.
Stress automatically goes up by 1.
Oh, so I think I'm up to... Did I put the... No, I didn't put the other one
No,
on.
you didn't. No. So stress goes up by 1. But a 6 is brilliant. We cut to you approaching the room where Eva Haflick is.
We are awesome, Cam.
You are just shit hot.
Shit hot tonight.
but there, you do get this weird feeling, Nacho, that you are being watched. Mark intel, by the way, for the 6.
Oh, that's right.
But you don't need to roll for stress, because stress can only go up once for an action. Okay. So you've already paid for it. But there is that kind of itch on the back of your neck, like you're being watched. And yet there are no internal cameras in this building that you can see.
Cam, you don't see any surveillance, right?
No.
Oh, so question about intel, how to spend intel. This might be a moment.
Fine. Okay, so you could now tell me an obstacle you will encounter that that will make you look cool overcoming it, right? So, and that reduces the number of complications I could throw at you.
Okay.
You could, when their stress is 4+, you can spend 1 intel to reduce stress as they review what they know and focus on their objective. So that would buy you something. At any time during play, you could recover your expertise, but happily that's back in the frame right now.
Back in the framework.
Or define the nature of a supernatural by defining a power, a compulsion, a deterrent, or a vulnerability. Now, you know,
don't have to spend them right now, but we have a sense that we're being watched, and
but not by a camera.
But not by a camera. Oh shit. So Cam, I know there's no cameras here, and I know I'm paranoid sometimes, but I'm feeling this hair on the back of my neck rise. I've always trusted in the past. I feel like we're being watched. What should we do?
Let's find out what we can and get out as quick as possible.
Okay, well, I can't resist the opportunity to add a GM complication at this point, which is
here we go.
Super bad. There's a supernatural threat on site at a level above what the briefing suggested. So, that just between the shoulder blades, Nacho. You know, to quote somebody, you have a bad feeling about this.
I have a bad feeling about this, yeah.
So, Cam, what are you thinking at this point? Or what are you doing?
Are there any, like, doors or windows looking into the hall that somebody could be watching us via non-supernatural means?
No.
Okay, that's not very comforting.
I mean, what you have noticed is that this building is energy efficient in as much as you move down a corridor, lights come on. And then as you move past that bit of corridor, lights go out. So, as you look back the way you've come, it's now in shadow, as is the area ahead of you.
So there's nobody moving there, tripping the motion sensors.
Which motion sensor was that?
Well, that would be one assumption.
Now, would you, Cam, like to declare a motion sensor?
Yes.
As a piece of gear? Fine. Because I think that's the kind of thing that Cam could make. Now, I should have asked you this before you went into the building, but are you light loaded, medium loaded, or heavy loaded, Cam?
What sort of, you said medium load is like has a bag or something?
Yeah, that would be, you've got a rucksack or something with gear in it. I mean, let's face it, somebody comes out of that door, they're not going to, oh, we're just cleaning.
I'm going to go with medium load.
Okay,
so
okay.
More
now, I doubt I have put motion tracker in the list. So just overtype motion tracker. Yeah, because it should be in the list. Let's face it. Yeah. And tick one gear slot for that, because it's only a little thing.
Yeah.
And let's have you roll to investigate, and I will give you the expertise that the motion tracker grants you.
All right.
It's like surveillance in the shadows.
Yeah.
Oh, that is an ordinary success. So I'm thinking that the question you want to ask me is there anything moving in the shadows?
Exactly.
There was, and then it stopped.
Interesting. I gesture to Nacho that there's one in the direction.
Nacho, there's the door where you're convinced Eva Haflick is, because Andre doesn't get this wrong often. You just sailed through the building to the point you needed to get to.
How do you fight something?
Sorry, Pilar, not Andre.
Pilar, yeah. How do you fight something invisible? I'm trying to think. Let me just quickly see here. Oops.
I think it might be time for me to refer you. I'm going to bring it down so it's more in view. I think I introduced you to the Supernaturals tab.
Oh.
Yeah. So you should find that the Supernaturals tab is now near Operation 2.
I see it.
You could spend intel to tell me about a weakness of a supernatural. And we know it's there, guys. We know it's there. Okay?
Yes,
we just know it's there. If you hit the drop down for compulsion, you have to give a compulsion before you can give a deterrent. And you have to have a deterrent before you can define a vulnerability.
I see.
Yeah?
Okay. And so the first step would be...
the first step would be to tell me what, if anything, this has as a compulsion.
Destroy pollute. Fascinated by honor or debt. What is nature's phases? Oh, depending upon like the phase of the moon or something.
Yeah.
And obey would mean that this creature obeys something else.
Someone or something. Yeah.
And tempt them would mean
that it will tempt you with something. It will offer something. It may offer something.
This is a lot taken all of a sudden. How about fascinated by... Oh, goodness.
The kind of thing we might be talking about here might be beauty or wit.
Mm-hmm.
And it
All
might
right.
mean that it focuses on somebody else who isn't as fascinating.
I see. Yeah. I'm sorry I'm taking so long.
No, that's okay. This is, you know, I can see this is this.
This seems a key scene here. Fascinated by let's just say it's fascinated by electronics.
Okay.
Interesting.
That's okay. Yeah, I can work with that. Let me just see what step. Oh, that was a mistake. Hang on. Why's that happened? Hang on. This equals image. Because I have someone in mind for this. Ah, there they are. Out of the shadows at the bottom of the corridor, steps, faces in places, column C, row 7.
Faces. Oh my.
Who in by tradition is called the Eurogoth.
The Eurogoth.
And it is the attraction of that bing, bing, bing on the motion tracker that draws it. And let me say, doesn't so much draw it out of the shadows as it almost parts the shadows and steps into the light, because it has a power called Cloak of Shadows. So I will add that to its powers. So this is the Eurogoth who is in play. What a fascinating noise. Its attention is focused on you, Cam, because you have the motion tracker. What do you do, Cam?
How fast is it moving towards me?
Oh, so far it just seemed to take a step out of the shadow. It was almost like the shadow just receded from around it.
Interesting.
Would you like to wait to see how quickly it moves?
No. I'm going to set down the motion tracker.
Okay. And step away from it?
Yeah, step back.
You take a step away from it, it takes a step towards it. Nacho, by the way, did you erase a mark, an intel to define that?
Oh, thank you for reminding me.
Nacho, you are standing next to the motion tracker. What do you do?
So I'm also moving away from the motion tracker, keeping my eye on the supernatural. The idea is that I'm trying to position myself behind the supernatural.
It's
if
walking up the corridor towards you.
Oh, okay. So there's no way to get behind it. Okay.
Short of some really impressive kind of parkouring.
Parkour exercise.
How wide is this corridor?
Now I will tell you, if you take another step,
Mm-hmm.
the door to the room where Eva is
Mm-hmm.
will be between you and the Eurogoth. So you were coming up to it, and now you've stepped away. It's now level with you here.
Mm-hmm.
It's come towards you. Take another step back. The door is going to be between you and it.
So I could step through the door now if I wanted to.
You could.
Yeah.
Is that what you do?
It's hard. More enemies might be behind the doors, but they might be easier than the supernatural to deal with. I think I'm going to Yeah, I'm not going to go through the door just yet. I think we have to deal with this threat before anything else happens.
Cam, are you
So
going to deal with the threat, or are you going to go through the door? I will remind you that you are fascinated by the allure of the blasphemous unknown.
Yeah, I
By the
want
way.
to see what it does. So I'm not going to go through the door.
Okay. Then it's one pace in front of you, picking up the motion tracker. I will add a power of great speed.
Okay.
It just blurred up that corridor. Like 10, 12 steps, then it's picking up the motion tracker and, you know, fascinating. How does it work? It's a step away from you. What do you do, Cam? I will remind you that you also have a point of intel.
And so I could use that to define something about it? Or...
You could define another compulsion, or you could define a deterrent.
Let's see what deterrents have. What does fresh mean? Like fresh blood, fresh meat, that sort of thing, or
Fresh meat?
no? I'm asking. I'm not defining yet. I'm trying to figure out what fresh.
It could be fresh garlic.
Okay.
It could
Anything.
be, yeah, could be fresh anything.
Wolfsbane or whatever. Yeah. All right.
Are you tempted by a little fresh?
No, I don't think so.
Symbol of faith. Is this the first time we see what's on that that thin chain around Cam's neck?
Yeah, we're gonna go with symbol of faith for deterrent.
Okay.
So I'll spend my intel.
And maybe as it looks up at you, it looks you in the eyes and says, how does it work? And then what we've never noticed before is cross, Star of David, pays when he takes your choice.
Yeah, crucifix.
And you see it just, and it turns its attention to Nacho.
Interesting.
What are you going to do, Nacho?
Can I use an intel point to define a vulnerability based on my
can.
Observation of
You
the creature
can.
or things that I may have
yeah, you
looked
just
into
spend that
earlier?
intel and you choose vulnerability.
Okay.
Extreme deterrence would be something like keeping it in contact with a symbol of faith. So you have to kind of grapple it down and press it into its forehead, say. Is it vulnerable to a particular, I don't know, bronze, cold iron? Iconic weapon, you're not going to get that out of your back pocket. A precise strike is, can you hit a particular part of the body? And double tap is, so that's usually a precise strike with the blessed bullet of St. Paul, or
I see.
or a wooden stake.
Or a wooden stake. Let's see. And I'll say precise strike.
Okay.
No, oops, I'm sorry. Should have chosen that.
So precise strike. Control will agree whether this is beheading or penetrating a particular organ. What's your preference?
I think penetrating a particular organ or a spot.
You know, the heart is kind of traditional.
That is traditional.
Yeah. So if you can get it there, bingo. You still have to engage with it enough to drive it, to confuse it by your attacks. It's not a straight, it's not one shot and dead. There's not a kind of magic bullet.
Right.
You have to work for it.
Got it.
But you now have a vulnerability. And I think there's even wooden stakes in the equipment list.
There are. I checked.
So, Cam?
So, Cam is going to do something that's perhaps not a good idea, but I want to say she has a old school film camera in her rucksack, not a digital one, so it can't be tampered with in the same ways. And she's going to pull that out and try to photograph it. Take a few photographs of it.
Fine. Yeah, fine. You know, one of those little box cameras that you used to get, you know, with a roll of film in it and just click and go.
Yeah.
You take that out?
Yeah, I take that out of the duffel bag and snap a
mark one slot on your gear and take that photograph because you are fascinated by the allure of the Blasphemous Arcane. Well done. Nacho, Cam's friggin' photographing the thing. It's getting bored with the motion tracker.
Let's see. Do I have any other electronic that I could put out? Let's see. What could I have on my person that might interest it? I do.
I know
ahead.
something.
Yes.
Blood. It jumps at you.
Oh, okay. It's jumping at me. Okay.
It's got bored. You are no longer interesting.
All right.
If that had been a digital camera, it might have been interesting in the digital camera. You win some, you lose some.
I'm in defense mode.
It is just, it goes for you.
Okay.
How do we see you trying to defend yourself against this blur?
So Nacho sees the blur coming towards him, but has very little time to react, obviously. So he's just going to, I think the only thing he could try to do is...
what are you aiming to do? Stave it off or hurt it?
Stave it off, yeah.
So you don't want to hurt it, you just want to avoid it.
Well, I mean, it's coming up. I could attempt an attack as it approaches. Why don't I do that then? I'll attempt an attack. I'm deadly.
What with? Is this where you declare some wooden stakes?
Oh yes, I have to declare some wooden stakes.
Fine. I don't think they take up a lot of space. And yeah, so you know, it comes at you and you go for it. Now, the way this works, can you see there's a confront them tab? If you fight or shoot at a threat or they attack you, say what success looks like. You want to hurt it. Yeah?
Yes.
Roll 1d6, the middle one. Roll another one if you have small arms or hand-to-hand, and you all do, so you have expertise.
Okay.
But you also add the bonus dice at the bottom because you have deadly.
Yay!
All three in the middle, right? Now,
all right.
You also roll the risk dice because you were at risk from it. You are going to roll, where's my Eurogoth gone? You are going to roll 4 risk dice.
Oh my goodness.
So the top 4 of those on the right-hand side. Would you like to add the stress dice to even the number of dice?
Yes. And also, I can't for some reason select the black and anything. Some of the dice I can't select for some reason.
How odd. Try expanding.
Shall I refresh?
Yeah, try refresh.
I will try refresh.
This is no time for the dice roller to back out on us.
I know, this is climactual. All right, let's see. Dun, dun, dun. No, I still can't do that. I could do the top, nothing below, so nothing, below, like the bottom one.
Oh.
Oh, that one I can move somehow.
Well, yeah, move it then. Move it up to the, look, I tell you
Okay.
what, if I put it there and put the dark one at the top, is that better?
Oh, that works. That works. Yeah.
Sometimes
yeah.
it's about how close you are to the bottom of the window.
Okay. There
So
we go.
look,
Okay.
basically you're rolling everything apart from that one on the bottom right that's got a 2 on it.
Okay. Got it.
Who doesn't want to roll a big handful of dice?
Let's go and see what happens. Cross your fingers, everybody.
Okay.
Okay,
so,
that's not good.
Oh, well, 4, right? You rolled a 4.
I rolled a 4.
Yeah, middle column, I moved it to the top. So that means you caused it some damage. So you apply some stress to it, right? Good job. You hit it. The trouble is it rolled equal to or higher than you did.
Yeah.
So you are at risk of a consequence.
Mm-hmm.
And a consequence is just a straightforward D6 -1. You want a high number. And I will tell you what harm you come to.
So I want a high number. Okay.
You want a high number. But you're taking 1 off because it's a supernatural.
6.
-1 is 5. 4+. You were lucky this time. It hurts, but you'll live. What does that look like, Nacho?
So Nacho attacked as the being, the supernatural was approaching. He did attempt to put a wooden stake through its heart as it was coming.
You made contact, but
I
not
did
in
make
the right
contact,
place.
but not in the right spot. He also managed to get out of the way of the charge of the supernatural, but still got the wind knocked out of him.
Yeah.
By the impact.
Yeah, fine. Cam, what are you doing? You taking more pictures?
No, she's good with the 1. Now it's attacking Nacho. Like, unless it's doing anything more interesting, if it has fangs out or something, she might.
No, it's hissing and attacking Nacho. Nacho, do you have on a symbol of faith?
Sure. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
I'm a
You're a friggin' vampire hunter. Who doesn't wear a symbol of faith? Okay, bear that one in mind next time round. Cam, what about you? What are you going to do?
What was did we define the vulnerability or not?
The vulnerability is a precise strike. So the way this works is that you have to kind of confuse it with attacks. And then when it only has 2 stress, it has 5 stress to take. You just take 1. When it has 2 left, I will tell you that there is an opening.
Okay.
And if you succeed at that opening, you'll take out the final 2 stress and put it down.
Got it.
So you have to kind of attrition before you can. If it was laid out in a coffin, this would be easy.
She's going to pull out a machete and go for its neck.
Go for it. Go for it. Let's do that. Okay. So mark a machete and go for it, Cam. So you are rolling everything but that 4 at the top. So you're orange, gray, green. If you want the green one, yeah.
Yeah.
It is only rolling 3 of those red ones.
Okay.
Because it flinches away as you come up to it from that symbol of yours. That symbol only has 1. It will walk through it next time, but it gives you an opening this time. So you're rolling 3 dice if you want it. It's rolling 3 dice. Right. Let's see what we get. Well, that's not a success on your point, or success at a cost. You could score stress on it, but the machete is embedded in it and torn from your grip.
Oh no.
So do you want to take some stress? Do you want to deal out some stress, but lose your machete? doesn't mean you can't draw another one.
Yeah, I'll take stress and.
So okay, so you inflict some stress on it, but as it whirls away, it tears the machete out of your grip. It rolled 4, which is higher than you, so you are going to take a consequence. You are going to roll a single d6, take 1 off it, and hope it's a high number.
That's good. I rolled a 6, so that becomes a 5.
Wow, you are just nailing this. You're lucky this time. It hurts, but you'll live. And you know, I think as it whirls around, you're kind of thrown back as the momentum flings you away from the handle of this machete. Back to Nacho, because it's quick enough to be attacking both of you. So it's, you know,
From multiple directions.
Nacho, you know, are you going to trust to the trusty stake?
Well, Nacho saw how it responded to Cam's crucifix, so he's pulled out his as well.
So this means you're going to be rolling 3 of those red dice, not 4.
3 of the red dice. Okay, that helps. And yeah, I'm going to go with the stake again.
Go for it then. So you're rolling only 3 of the red ones, but the other 4, assuming you put your stress dice in.
Yeah. And then
what have you got to lose at this point in the proceeding?
Nope, my life. Okay, here we go.
Oh, look at that, a 6 on the stress
I got a
dice.
6 on the stress dice.
So stress goes up automatically. You know,
Okay.
you win some, you lose some. But on a 6, you do 2 stress to it.
Excellent.
And I can
Must have gotten
tell
it
you,
close.
I can tell you that the next precise strike will take it out.
Cam,
So,
count on you.
but and
What?
it didn't manage a 6, so it doesn't even lay a glove on you.
Nacho's awesome.
He is. He is. All that assassin's training is finally
Paid
coming
off.
coming on. So and it's confused and you know it's struggling with the machete stuck in its chest. Cam, what are you going to do? If you can hit it in the heart this time, you could kill it.
Does that need to be with anything in particular I need to hit it, or?
No, we didn't do a double tap, which was a strike in the heart with an oaken staff. Yeah. Anything works. Is this where we discovered that there's another machete in that rucksack?
No, she's probably diversified. She probably has a handgun.
Oh right, shoot it in the heart. Oh my, yes, good on you. Yeah, I like that. Okay, it is quick enough to be on you. So you know this is gun fu. So you are rolling orange, gray, green if you want it.
Sure, it's attacking me.
But you've had the benefit of that crucifix, so you are rolling 4 of the risk dice, 4 of the red ones.
All right.
Go for it. Oh, will
yeah!
You look at that! 6 on the stress dice. Up goes stress. 6 is higher than anything it can do. It's busily pulling this out of its chest. Cam, paint a picture for me.
So as it's tugging on the machete and charging at point blank range with her silenced handgun, she shoots it straight through the heart.
And what does the death of a vampire in this version of this fiction look like?
It staggers back, stunned at first, and then it explodes in a pile of blood and gore.
Yes.
Good you got that photo.
Yes. Too busy killing it to catch that moment. But I bet she photographs Nacho afterwards.
Covered in blood
gore.
and guts and gore.
And that's when Karine Axelsson opens the door. I've got my eye on the clock. So I think that we cut at that point, because
Mhm.
you have rescued Eva. She is in there. You have a prisoner in Karine Axelsson if you want her.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Karine, under pressure, reveals what AVH stands for. Abraham Van Helsing.
Mhm.
Vampire killer.
The conspiracy is looking for Van Helsing's descendants. Dun dun dun.
Oh,
That's the hook for the next next special.
game. Next operation.
Okay. Well, I had a lot of fun, but I would like to just run through stars or roses and thorns, actually. So roses. Mari, I don't know if you've done anything like this before, but roses are things that you enjoyed, maybe a bit of role play that you enjoyed being part of, whatever. Anything that you want to pick out, please.
All right. Let's see.
It's an unfair question to put this to you, because Jose, you'll have done this before.
I have done it before, yeah.
Let me go to Jose first, and then you'll have an example maybe. So Jose, any roses?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of roses, gosh. But the rose that's sticking out to me right now is that it was fun how Cam and Nacho were kind of the first operation was kind of, they were more separate. I mean, they were coordinating but more separate. And then this one really brought them together so they could face a threat, a very intense threat together. That felt really exciting and fun to be actually in a back and forth with you, Mari, and so that was a lot of fun. And tons of roses to you, Alwyn, because Alien, I'll try to get your name right.
Oh, goodness me, don't worry.
Because it's just amazing how you managed to stuff all of this into 4 hours. I can't imagine if there were 4 of us here, what would have happened. And
I have to say, the first operation might have run a bit longer. I'll be honest with you,
exactly.
if there were 4
And
of
so,
and there might have been a
really
Eurogoth
amazing.
in the basement.
A Eurogoth in the basement there, yeah. So that was really amazing, and roses too. Just I loved the back and forth of us being able to create narrative, and then you being giving us the option of giving us a helping hand with something if not. And it was just very, very generous the way you did that, and so I just wanted to say thank you for that. And Mari, I just appreciated having a partner that just jumped in on it with me one-on-one, especially since you're not that familiar with the gauntlet and this is all so new. So this is like trial by fire or by blood or whatever it is.
Trial by vampire is a
trial by
well-known...
vampire.
Yeah.
So those are my roses. Yeah.
Great. Mari, does that give you a flavor?
Yeah.
Of
that gives me a sense
the process. So, roses?
I liked the final dramatic supernatural and the reveal of it as it stalked us. And the back and forth process and the sort of collaborative defining of the details is nice.
Good. Glad you enjoyed it. Roses for me. Mari, to you for launching yourself in your first gauntlet game. Good for you. Hope to see you around the table again. And the way that you both kind of committed to genre, really. So we had the techie in the van, we had the smooth operator, but when push comes to shove, a couple of hard asses. Bring a big enough threat, and you bring the killer out of everybody. So that was great for me. Thank you. Any thorns? Better if, Jose.
No, actually, I can't think of anything. I'm thinking wishes, but we're not going to play again. But yeah. Let me see. Let me take a moment. Yeah, there are more wishes because there are wishes about, getting to play with the anchors and things that we just can't do in a one shot. But it's just like there's so many cool things about the game that kept popping up that we weren't going to get to in the one shot that it just leaves me asking for more, which is probably the spot that I'm supposed to be left in. So I'm in the right spot.
Yes, coming soon to Drive Through RPG. Mari, better if?
No, I don't think there's anything. I had a good time.
Good. I'm glad you had a good time because that's the objective. Yeah, better. I'd like to see these characters some more. I'll be honest with you. So if I will be putting some series up in the new year, I think. So keep your eye open.
Yes, definitely.
No, that was really fun, folks. That was really fun. Better if I want more time. Why don't we make these sessions 8 hours long?
I know, it should be 12, right?
Exactly. Just keep playing until. Yeah. So no, that was great. Thank you very much. And a lot of pressure on you being just the pair, but thanks for committing. So with that, I will stop the recording